passed by the House of Representatives.
On October 7th, 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari presented for consideration the 2022 appropriation bill with an aggregate of 16.39 trillion naira to the joint session of the National Assembly.
Now, the 2022 appropriation, as described in the words of the President, is a budget of economic growth and sustainability, now with the outlook designed to build on the achievements of previous budgets and to deliver on goals and aspirations as reflected in the National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025.
And so on Tuesday, that's yesterday, the 21st of December 2021, witnessed the House of Representatives passing the 2022 appropriation bill of 17.126 trillion naira, and there are huge expectations for the provided key highlights.
Yes, indeed, Kirian. Now, of the amount as passed by the House of Representatives, 6.9 trillion naira is set for recurrent non-debt expenditure, and 5.4 trillion naira pegged for development fund, while 3.8 trillion naira is for debt service, and 869.6 billion for statutory transfer.
With the defense and the internal security considered top priority for the administration, still, from the sectoral breakdown, we see defense with an allocation of more than 996 billion naira, and the police getting more than 518 billion naira.
Now, education has also been given some top attention, and it already has 598 billion, 590, nearly 600 billion naira, and health has 462 billion naira.
The House of Representatives in the 2022 appropriation parameters considered for increase the oil benchmark to $62 as against the $52 that was proposed by the executive, harping on the fact that this should reflect the current market values of the oil barrel in the international market.
Now, the House of Reps, however, left the exchange rate as given at 410 naira 15 kobo to the US dollar. Now, the gross domestic product growth rate was also put at 4.2%, while inflation was left at 13%. That's to say parameters for next year.
But then the House saw the need for provision of more funds to critical sectors and purposeful execution of their core mandate. More so, not forgetting, the House also passed the Finance Bill 2022 to support implementation of the budget.
All right, so one question to immediately ask is what has necessitated the overshooting, if you like, of the fiscal thresholds as earlier submitted by the executive branch? What are the other concerns when you watch out for what the House has provided in the bill that it has passed? What could enable the economy get into the proper mode to achieving the goals spelled out by Mr. President when he tabled the bill before the National Assembly? Now, those are the issues and more that we'll be taking a look at in our conversation segment this morning.
Well, very vital questions, Kingsley, and our guests are in the wings to address all of those and even more. It's on that note that I welcome you to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kirian Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadola. I join my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to the program live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. In the course of the program, we have our regular companion segments, including Newspaper Review on Business. For now, here is Dennis Adegunloye, who has the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Kirian. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the morning news. A $73 million intervention fund for irrigation has been set up by the federal government towards boosting sugar production across the country as part of the backward integration program. Already, an all-encompassing presidential intervention project on irrigation infrastructure has been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari towards achieving this objective.
The is to increase significantly and improve the country's performance in cane yields so that we can work within the National Sugar Development Plan, Sugar Master Plan, with a view to Nigeria becoming self-sufficient in the provision of sugar.
President Muhammadu Buhari has taken the booster shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. This is to further demonstrate leadership in the renewed drive towards controlling and containing the global health challenge.
And what we're seeing from the data is that COVID-19 is now mostly a disease of the unvaccinated. Out of every 10 people that have died, the data shows that 8 of them are unvaccinated. So there's a greater likelihood of dying from COVID-19 if you're unvaccinated.
The federal government is committed to sustaining production of relevant statistical information needed for effective tracking and monitoring of sustainable development goals in Nigeria. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said this during the launch of the baseline report and realignment of the National Statistical System with Sustainable Development Goals 2020.
One of the areas of marked improvement in this document that we're presenting is the increased range of reporting from the 126 indicators recorded in the 2016 baseline report to the 141 indicators in the current 2020 report.
President Muhammadu Buhari has withheld assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021, stating that assenting to it in its present form will be counterproductive. This is contained in his letter to both chambers of the National Assembly.
The conduct of direct primaries across the 8,809 wards across the length and breadth of the country will lead to a significant spike in the cost of conducting primary elections by parties, as well as increase in the cost of monitoring such elections by INEC.
In addition to increased costs identified above, conducting and monitoring primary elections across 8,809 wards will pose huge security challenges, as the security agencies will also be overstretched.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Governance Forum has formally reacted to the decision by President Muhammadu Buhari to withhold assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, saying the Nigerian leader needs to be commended for standing with the people. The chairman of the forum and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who spoke to newsmen after an audience with the president, insists that for the state governors, it does not matter whether primary elections are held through a direct or indirect mode.
Governors' interest and concern is that opportunities are given for an inclusive process. And I think that is what Mr. President's letter has brought out.
The House of Representatives has passed the 2022 appropriation bill of 17.126 trillion naira. This represents an increase of 735 billion naira on the amount initially submitted by the President. Also passed is the Finance Bill 2022 to support the budget's implementation. After passing the budget, the House adjourned plenary to the 18th of January 2022.
The total sum of 17,126,873,917,692 naira only.
If Nigeria must meet various targets, including the Sustainable Development Goals in water resources, it requires about 6 trillion naira to bridge the infrastructural gap in the sector. This was the new revelation as Water Resources Minister Suleiman Adamu opened the 28th regular meeting of the National Council on Water Resources in Abuja.
We will deliver improved water sanitation and hygiene services to 2,000 schools and healthcare facilities and assist about 500 communities to achieve open defecation-free status.
The federal government wishes to reassure the general public, especially prospective couples wishing and planning to contract their marriages at the Ikoyi Marriage Registry or any other federal marriage registry under the Ministry of Interior, that they are free to do so, as the 1999 Constitution legally empowers the federal government to contract such marriages. The statements by the Permanent Secretary and Principal Registrar of Marriages, Dr. Shuaib Belgouri, indicates that the misinformation making the rounds recently in the social media should be disregarded. The Interior Ministry notes that there should be no cause for apprehension by all intending couples who have planned to be married during the festive period and at any other time at the Ikoyi Marriage Registry in Lagos or at any other federal marriage registry. Well, those are the highlights of the news. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly after this break with Kingsley and Kirian. Good morning.
The Ministry of Works and Housing has the responsibility to help improve the quality and the quantity of the road infrastructure assets, which are the roads and the bridges and the highways. At the moment, we have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under repair, reconstruction, or rehabilitation out of the existing 35,000 kilometers of federal road network. These 13,000 kilometers are comprising about 850 different contracts which the ministry superintends across Nigeria. We are fulfilling the mandate of our ministry to expand the connectivity of Nigeria's states and by extension the towns and villages through road transport.
Shola, come and help me. You need to learn.
But I'm more interested in drawing.
How are you going to be part of the business if you don't learn?
You just don't understand.
Morning. Anyone for some Lipton?
The rich taste of Lipton awakens body and mind.
Let me have a look at your drawings. Son, these designs are amazing.
Lipton Yellow Label Tea. Awaken to what really matters.
Candidates who are interested in gaining admission into NTA TV College, JOS, for the 2021-2022 two-year National Innovation Diploma Program are to apply for admission through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB. Courses available for application include film and television production, broadcast journalism, and television engineering technology. Such candidates must have a minimum of 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects, including English language and mathematics. For inquiries, please call 0803-079-5335 or 0806-980-9807. Management Announcer.
The 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration is here again. The Nigeria Armed Forces work tirelessly day and night to give us peace to go about our businesses. Some have paid the supreme price. Should we forget the families and loved ones they left behind? No.
I am therefore privileged to honor these veterans who devoted most of their lives, active lives, to securing the nation and the world at large.
So, let's support the Nigerian Armed Forces and their families, corporate organizations, government agencies, parastatals, and individuals. Let's show our love and support for our armed forces. They are our heroes. Buy the Armed Forces Remembrance Emblem and donate into the Armed Forces Remembrance Emblem Appeal account. We love you, and your labor and sacrifice will not be in vain for spilling your blood for us to live.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
We have come to the end of another successful year. We wish to appreciate all those who mean so much to us. Our clients, the 3 tiers of government, ministries, departments, and agencies, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties. You are esteemed viewers. Together, we made 2021 great. Together, we shall make 2022 greater. Thank you. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year from all of us at NTA.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's time for business news with stakeholders in the farming and processing of mushroom in the country seeking inclusion in the CBN program and a stake in the global market. Our correspondent Alika Okpanachi Aruwa has details of the story.
The farmers at this year's Mushroom Week in Abuja called on government to address challenges hindering growth in the country's mushroom subsector. This, they maintained, would enable mushroom producers to benefit from the $45.3 billion global market of the produce. The association is also advocating inclusion of the subsector into the anchor borrowers programs of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The Mushroom Association is actually working to just get 10% of this world market value, which will give us about $4.5 billion. That's our target.
The gathering also revealed that global demand for mushroom has continued to increase significantly, and reports by the Food and Agricultural Organization have shown that the global production hit 8.99 million tons in 2018.
This will create employment opportunity and it will turn around our economy. Our youths, our teeming youths that are not doing anything, and the women will be engaged in this production.
Global market mushroom is said to also be growing rapidly, as the market was estimated at $45.3 billion in 2020 and projected to reach $72.5 billion by 2027. With business news, Alika Okpanachi, Arua.
Well, thank you, Alika, for that business package. Next is newspaper review.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebe, is right here with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Kyria.
All right, Bayo, welcome. Let's begin with the nation. Both the name flag of the Nation newspaper, NNPC to fix 1,800 kilometers highway with 621 billion naira. That's on page 5. Emirates gets federal government's 21 weekly slots. Air Peace to fly daily to UAE. That's on page 2. Ganduje signs 222.2 billion naira budget into law. Insecurity, imams urge federal government to change tactics. The story is on pages 27 and page 5. Now, the lead story, the senators move to override Buhari on electoral bill. With 2 riders to that, collection of signature begins. Reps to consider president's reasons next year. Will be urges net rework of rejected bill. Fayemi says governors not afraid of direct primary. Now, 20 years after, Shoyinka challenges federal government on Ige's murder. That's on page 5. Twitter, Facebook, Google, others now to pay tax in Nigeria. That's on page 5. All right, Kinsley.
All right, we also take a look at the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. Now, above the name flag, you have the headline, Internet Affordability. That's the kicker. Nigeria ranks 19th globally, emerges 3rd in Africa. That's Internet Affordability. Nigeria ranks 19th globally and emerges 3rd in Africa. You also have that below the name flag. It says unsolved crimes only leads to culture of impunity, and that's attributed to Professor Wole Soyinka, with details on page 5. Technology used in elections has come to stay, according to INEC. And Yuletide, Southwest Governors order Amotekun on 24-hour border patrol. Electoral Act, that's the kicker for the lead headline. Tension mounts as senators move to override Buhari's veto. You have, of course, a number of riders to that headline there. Also on the front page, Nigeria and UAE end spat as NCAA restores Emirates flights. And Air Peace granted daily frequencies to Dubai. Now, at the foot of the front page, study links gum disease to mental health. Bayo, take some of those stories.
Yeah. Kingsley. Well, let's start with the issue related to the electoral amendment. President Muhammadu Buhari has communicated his withheld assent to the two chambers of the National Assembly. In a letter dated 18th of December, the Senate President read that the President withheld his assent because of the mandatory direct primaries. He expressed concerns over legal, financial, and security concerns and disadvantages of mandatory direct primaries. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, after reading the President's communication of withholding his assent, ruled that the House would act when it resumes in January. There has been reactions to not assenting to the electoral bill. The Senate went into closed-door session for about 37 minutes. They are to reconvene today at plenary. Meanwhile, Senior Senator George Sekibo asserted that by virtue of Section 5845, the Senate can and will pass the bill by two-thirds majority, and which will make the President assent very unnecessary as required by law. He stressed that there are 3 voting methods, and by practice, they have already compiled 73 signatories. Two-thirds of 109 senators is 72 two-thirds. Meanwhile, Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State has said that, opined that from his experience in many political parties, primaries should be an internal responsibility of political parties. Similarly, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State alluded to being chairman of the indirect primaries for which President Muhammadu Buhari was elected in 2015. And in 2019, the president was subjected to direct primaries. He stressed that it will be undemocratic to foist mode of primaries on political parties. But the National Assembly and executive need to be cautious so as not to throw away the baby of the electoral amendments. Find electoral amendment that is intended to improve our electoral system. They should not throw it away with the bathwater of direct primaries. Many politicians are enthusiastic and they should reason rather than being sentimental as statement. The wider national interest, the electoral interest of the nation should guide them. The direct primaries is a proxy war between legislators who are struggling to liberate themselves from the stranglehold of governors. And if care is not taken, the nation will now suffer for it because the direct primaries will become a booby trap for the fine electoral amendments that has been proposed to improve our electoral system. 2022 appropriation bill has been passed by the House of Representatives. It is an increase of about 26% over the 2021 budget. Statutory transfers is 869.66 billion. Debt servicing is to go up 387 trillion. Well, since it is part of the discussion in the main program, there will be no need to go into details except to point out that, meanwhile, the National Assembly also approved a payment of 276.8 billion to fund the 2022-21 budget. It also approved an elongation of the lifespan of the 21 budget by 3 months. The budget of the Federal Inland Revenue Service was put at 215.8 billion. President Muhammadu Buhari had his 3rd dose of COVID-19 vaccination as a booster yesterday. It was administered by his personal physician, Dr. Shuaib Rafindadi. He got the first dose on 6th of March, the second dose on 29th of May, and got Pfizer Biotech as booster dose. The Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaibu, says that by the significance of the president is that as the father of the nation, the president has set the example to show Nigerians that it is safe and efficacious. The director says that over 8 million Nigerians have been vaccinated, asserting that the vaccine is safe. The NCDC, from his latest statistics, show that Nigeria is now in the 4th wave of COVID-19, citing Delta and Omicron as the variant that is ravaging and spreading very fast. Nigeria has had 10,610 cases of COVID-19. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, says that consistent evidence shows that Omicron is outpacing Delta and COVID-19 all over the world, and so far, about 50,000 deaths have followed the ravaging of Omicron and Delta. He says the World Health Organization has issued a holiday warning, and he says that, no doubt, increased social mixing over Yuletide holidays could lead to increased cases that could overwhelm our health service. And he has advised, say, cancel now and celebrate later, rather than celebrate now and grieve later.
Okay. Of course, you have already given details to some of the stories. The lead story on The Nation, senators move to override Buhari on electoral bill, says it's first you read it out here. They've already had about 73 signatories, to that effect. I wonder why the move to override the president's rejection of the denial of the bill, assenting to the bill. I thought that they should have sat, had a broader conversation on the issue before taking decision to override the president's decision.
They had 37 minutes of closed-door meeting over it, and hopefully when they meet at plenary today, they will talk about it. But the House of Reps says that they have deferred it to January. Between now and January, hopefully reason will prevail and they will look at it critically. I think including the direct primaries issue in the Electoral Act has become now a booby trap that is undermining the fine amendments that is in the Electoral Act. And the reasons given by the president and has been also amplified by the governor of Benue State and Governor of Fayemi needs to be taken care of. In politics, you have a contrast of opinion. They should look to the interests of our nation and moving our nation forward politically before whatever action they will take. It is their prerogative to take whatever action.
Well, is that to suggest that the National Assembly did not consider the implications or the interests that could be protected or the matters that could arise from the prescription of direct primaries as the sole mode for parties to choose their candidates? I think that would be erroneous because the National Assembly had heated debates on this matter. They held public hearings, yes. And in their considered view, this is the way to go. They have done that. Now the president has vetoed the bill, and as you said, it's the prerogative of the National Assembly whether to keep the bill in abeyance and let it die, and then of course we are stuck with the pre-existing Electoral Act, or they may seek to hearken to the president's request by expunging or otherwise altering the clauses in the bill as they have passed that the president found contentious. Okay. As I mentioned yesterday, Kyrian, if you recall, the president, in vetoing the bill, is not obliged to give any reason. But in this case, he has given his reasons.
All right.
On the other hand, of course, Kyrian, on the other hand is for the National Assembly members to say, okay, we are going to override the president's veto. And if they can muster the number, again, it's within their constitutional prerogative.
Like, sorry, let me take us back to the issue of COVID-19.
Yes. And
taking of, vaccination. All right. I'll tell the Peter side tested positive for COVID-19. That's more widely publicized. And this is what he said here. I had taken 2 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in early March and late May 2021. And I also took the Pfizer booster shot last week in Victoria Island. Yet, COVID-19 still knocked on my door.
Yeah, you see, when you take the vaccine or the booster dose, it does not necessarily say that you are precluded from any infection. The implication is this: when you get the infection, the effect of you having very grave consequences is limited. So the vaccination helps your antibodies to fight the intrusion into your system. It doesn't become a cure against it completely. No, it is when by chance you are infected.
It
yes,
doesn't prevent it either.
when by chance you are infected, the consequences of that infection will be less severe. In fact, the World Health Organization is emphasizing that the current pandemic is the pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The point is, as Bayo was explaining, look, the vaccines you take serve to reinforce your immune system. That is to say, the soldiers in your body. The fact that you have armed forces does not mean that from time to time enemies will not attempt to attack you. When the enemies then attack, your superior firepower will repel the enemies. That's what the vaccination does. Vaccination doesn't mean that you might not get the infection. The infection might come, but when it gets into your system, then it gets confronted with the superior firepower in your system, and that's what the immunity is supposed to do. I was saying, I think Dr. Peter Side has been very open with his infection and the steps he took to avoid public outings once he realized that he had been in contact with a system or a person or persons who might have been infected, so that he didn't then become a vector for the spread of the disease. But in terms of taking the booster dose, I'm sure Nigerians will remember when we were having this rash of antagonism against vaccination. President Muhammadu Buhari took the first vaccine in March this year, and some persons were asking, are you sure that the president was not being injected with glucose rather than the COVID-19 vaccine? They said glucose, and the argument was that why did he take it on his right hand, on the right arm? We had the executive director of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, who was our guest on Good Morning Nigeria, and he explained that you can take the vaccination on any arm. So President Buhari has taken the second, and he has also taken the third. The question you are going to ask those doctors now will be, is this still glucose they are injecting into his system?
Well, the truth of the matter is that this issue of vaccination is not just in Nigeria. In Europe and America, many people are not interested in taking the vaccine. And from all indications, experts have also said that, look, even when you have the vaccination and perhaps you are infected by the disease, you will still transmit the disease. That you will still transmit the disease.
Yes, you become a vector. Although because of the vaccination, you are protected, you may not suffer severely. But you can also begin to propagate it.
If you transmit it to an unvaccinated, that unvaccinated is potentially at greater risk than if you transmit it to a vaccinated person. Look, the truth of the matter is that the science of coronavirus is still evolving. The world has lost 2 years now to coronavirus, and next year is also going to be potentially problematic, in terms of how the world will react to.
Scientists have a lot of job to do in this connection.
There's a development in the Lagos Magistrate Court relating to the student of Dowen College, Sylvester Oromoni. 5 students and 3 housemasters who were detained. But yesterday, a Lagos Magistrate Court granted the 5 students bail of the sum of 1 million each, and there are conditions attached to it. They are to be, they were remanded in a juvenile home, but now they are granted bail 1 million each and 2 sureties in the like sum. They are also to stay within 2 kilometers of their residence, and their passport is also to be submitted to the court. They are facing charges of conspiracy and homicide.
Well, I think it's important to state clearly so that at some point you will not have persons who are arguing, say, who are these students? Can we see their faces? They are minors, and there are rules governing the trial of minors for alleged criminal offences in our courts. So that's the thing to point. And of course, minors in general will refer to the age before majority, and the age of majority is 18 years. Okay, that's what, but it's a story. I mean, Kirian was showing it to me, but it's buried inside one of the papers. On the 1st of this month, a housemaid to Madam Igbenedion, that's the mother of the former governor of Edo State, Lucky Igbenedion, was allegedly murdered by her housemaid. The housemaid has since been arrested. She was picked up in Calabar.
Yes,
and yesterday, yes, the story is in the Nation newspaper.
The Nation captured it here on page 6. You know, the lady is also here. She said, "How I killed Igbenedion's mother." You know, she narrated how she did it. It's an allegation, but from this publication, she said she used a stool to hit her on the head while she was deep asleep.
Yeah,
that was in the middle of around 12:30 a.m.
12:30, where they are, according to what she told the journalist yesterday at the Edo State Police Command, she had been in the employment of Madam Igbenedion for just about 15 months. She said Madam Igbenedion was kind to her, but that she, had seen some money in the drawer.
100,000 naira.
100,000 naira, it turned out.
And
so she said she wanted to take the money from the drawer. And then she also saw some jewelry. And then, of course, she said she hit Madam Igbenedion with a stool on the head. 85 years old. If you knew her, she was a quiet type, decent woman. She was buried, of course, just within a week or so after the incident. What is expected, I think a number of persons have also been arrested in connection, if they are conspirators. Speedy trial and justice for the family, and of course, justice for the state. Baya Toyebi, thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you
again tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing the Appropriation Bill 2022 as passed by the House of Reps.
Has succeeded a great deal in sensitization during the pandemic. And we have found the community mobilization officers most effective in the sensitization and in the advocacy campaigns, creating awareness on the coronavirus pandemic. We have done this through the production of jingles, which were very widely distributed in different languages, in English, in Hausa, in Yoruba, in Igbo, in Tiv, in Igala, in Kanuri, in Fulfulde, in Ijo, in Isoko, in Bini. In talk of any other language you can think of, we had translated sensitization messages.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
This present government has done a lot on the train modernization. They came in and completed the Abuja Kaduna, and we have 9 stations there, 5 stopping stations and 4 crossing stations, making 9. And when we started in 2016, we started with 2 trips, then we later moved on to 8 trips. And we are talking about moving to 14 trips a day. And we have been able to send 10 DMUs, 10 coaches, and 2 locomotives new. We have 12 stations on the Takbere line. It's about 312 kilometer length of track, and it's over 35 years old. And the government came and took it up, finished the track, build modern stationing, and the stations are finished. Working on the signaling. We all hope to start the commercial operations by the end of September.
Yeah, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. As a prompt for our conversation this morning, which is on the passage of a 2022 appropriation bill by the House of Representatives, let's take this background report by our correspondent, Abdulsalam Jibril.
The total sum of 17,126,873,917,692 naira only.
After weeks of uncertainty, if the budget passage will still scale through before the year winds down, the House of Representatives at Tuesday's 21st December plenary passed the 2022 appropriation bill at the aggregate of 17.126 trillion naira. Also passed was the finance bill to support implementation of the budget. The 17.126 trillion naira aggregate comprises of 6.9 trillion naira recurrent non-debt expenditure, 5.4 trillion naira contributions to development, 3.8 trillion naira for debt servicing, and 869.6 billion naira for statutory transfer. Recall that President Buhari had in October this year presented to both chambers of the National Assembly the 2022 appropriation bill tagged Budgets of Economic Growth and Sustainability, estimated at 16.39 trillion naira with a crude oil benchmark price of $57 per barrel. Legislators in the Green Chamber maintained that the additional revenue increase would be allocated to agencies that came forward with additional financial reports, which was not provided for in the budget. These include Ministry of Works and Housing, the Independent National Electoral Commission for the 2023 general elections, as well as Defense, National Population Commission for the 2022 population census, among others. The House also increased the benchmark price for crude from $57 to $62 per barrel, while the exchange rate was retained at 410 naira 15 kobo. While it is expected that the Senate will follow suit, some experts note that passing the budget in record time is in continuation of the commitment by the present administration to sustain the January to December budget cycle. They also raised concerns over the allocation formula of the budget, 70% recurrent and 30% capital expenditure, which they insist remains the albatross of the Nigerian economy. Other concerns raised includes the government's debt profile, the seemingly low budgetary allocation for sectors such as education and health, all subsidies, among others. These are just some of the issues that guests on the program will be speaking to shortly.
Thank you very much, Abdulsalam, for that background. We have 3 guests, regulars on Good Morning Nigeria, in discussing economic and financial matters. Professor Uche Waleke, Chairman, Chartered Institute of Bankers, Abuja Chapter, former Commissioner for Finance, and also Professor of Capital Markets at Nasarawa State University, Kefi. Pleasure to have you this morning, Uche.
Yeah, thank you, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigerian.
Financial and investment analyst, Niya Kinseju, delight to welcome you to this edition of the program.
My pleasure as always. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay.
We also have Shuaibu Idris. Shuaibu Idris is the Managing Director, Timeline Consult Limited. He joins the conversation from our studio in Lagos. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kirian. Good morning, Kinsley. And good morning, our fellow discussant. Good morning, Nigerians, and thanks for having me.
All right, gentlemen, once again, we welcome you to the program, and just a couple of days to Christmas, the Chamber, the House of Representatives, has passed the appropriation bill, awaiting, of course, the passage by the Senate, which ought to have considered it yesterday, but apparently deferred it on account of their consideration of the President's veto of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Professor Uche Waleke, what do you make of this development? Are you seeing the Senate also agreeing with the House, or we are likely to have some dissonance, and therefore we call for further conferencing before you have a harmonized version?
Yeah, thanks once again, Kinsley. The first thing to note is to commend the House of Reps for ensuring that the appropriation bill is passed, because it is critical that the bill is passed this year, before the end of the year, so that the budget can kick in, the implementation can kick in good time. Of course, we also know that the 2021 budget implementation, from what we have read, has been extended, by 90 days. But it's important that the 2020 budget is ready. So I also expect the Senate to, do same to pass the appropriation bill, so that the President can assent and implementation will commence in earnest. But having said that, I also want to note that what the House of Reps passed is not exactly what the executive arm submitted. The House of Reps tinkered with what was submitted, especially the revenue projections. You recall that the executive arm had submitted an appropriation bill which was based on certain benchmarks and assumptions, one of which is the oil price benchmark, which was then put at $57 per barrel. And that's of course in line with the medium-term expenditure framework, the 2020-2024 medium-term expenditure framework, which has $57 per barrel for 2022, the same $57 per barrel for 2023, and $55 per barrel for 2024. So the 2021 22 appropriation bill has been predicated on that medium-term expenditure framework that has oil price benchmark as $57 per barrel. But in passing the bill, the House jacked it up from $57 per barrel to $62 per barrel. So a $5 increase resulting in an increase in the size of the expenditure estimate from 16.3 trillion naira to now 17.1 trillion naira. So my take here is that I would have preferred a situation in which the House of Reps had maintained the $57 per barrel oil price benchmark. Of course, the other parameters were left unchanged. Talking about the oil output, talking about the exchange rate, 410, 15 cents, per naira. Talking about inflation target of 13% and GDP growth rate of 4.2%. Those were left unchanged. But the main thing that was tinkered with had to do with the oil price benchmark. And in that regard, I would have preferred a situation in which that was left unchanged, because when you lean your budget more on projections from oil, you make your budget, vulnerable to, a lot of risk. You increase the budget risk, because as we know, this is one area that is highly volatile. This is one area over which we have, little or no control. Yes, it's quite tempting and persuasive to say, given the average performance of the oil price in 2021, that it would, it makes sense to use $62 per barrel. Of course, doing so would mean more money for the federal government, more money for even the subnationals, for the states and local government. But again, from experience, we know that usually the trend, the uptrend in the oil price it doesn't usually reflect the outlook for the coming year. Okay, we've had that experience over time. So I had thought that should have also influenced the passage of this bill. You can still recall that in 2017, just a difference of $2 per barrel from 42.5 dollars to 44 that the National Assembly did, caused a lot of issues, and that delayed the assent by the president. So this time we're having $5 per barrel, per barrel. So I also hope that it doesn't, cause some, acrimony between the two arms and, leading to delay in the budget. So the point I want to make this morning is that the idea of increasing the oil price benchmark is not, in my view, is not a wise one for a country, that is, leaning much on oil revenue to finance the budget. And that has also meant, if going by what they passed, even the budget deficit has been increased from 6.2 trillion, to the increase is 98 billion. So you are increasing the budget deficit. It also means that the financing component, the debt component, to finance it will also be higher.
All right, let's hear from Rene Akinsuju with respect to the budget that has been passed by the House of Reps. Of course, Professor Waleke has pointed the fact that there's increase in oil price benchmark by the House. Are you expecting, what are you expecting the Senate to do in this regard?
I think it's most likely the Senate will also align with what the House of Reps have done. It's tempting, especially when you look, when you consider the fact of critical infrastructural needs, and that had been the explanation all this while, and the specific explanation for this increase, in the 2022 bill as passed by the House of Reps. I first want to congratulate the National Assembly as a whole for this focused effort to pass the budget 22 in December. Now we are seeing the institutionalization of the January to December cycle, and I think there's also a convergence of sorts between the federal fiscal budgeting system and the subnational fiscal budgeting system. You will see a copycat template, as it were, because over the last 2 years that this January to December cycle, has been emplaced, most subnationals had also keyed into it. So the Nigerian, that tells us about the nature of the Nigerian federal system, that the subnational would naturally trend towards what the federal government is doing, and it helps the economic space because one, it helps projection, and of course it also helps the efforts at stimulating the economy when expenditure is being spent at the same time more or less. Then you also don't forget that about 67 to 80% of listed companies also have their cycle within the January to December cycle too. So you see that convergence as a whole. So I think it's good, the trend that we're seeing, and I hope the Senate would also do the needful. I see the Senate following the House of Reps, increasing the benchmark. Why this had been done, to my mind, is because the OPEC had also been very active in terms of projection, making public their projection. Virtually every other day, you see the OPEC Plus projections in terms of projection for demands in the current week, in the current month, and even beyond. You have also seen critical international analysts, Goldman Sachs and all that, also coming up with positive projections on global demand threshold. So, and I'm sorry, I am also aligned, with that, because the truth is that either we like it or not, we are dependent on crude oil sales. Our more than 80% of our exports is still crude oil dependent. Our earning is still crude oil dependent. I think we still have, there's a need for us to optimize, whatever we can earn, from crude oil. Thankfully, our rig heads are returning. From a high of 22 or so in 2019, it fell to about four, in 2020. Now it's coming up to about 7. By now. So going forward, I think we should be able to meet up the 1.88. At a point in time, I think about 2 or 3 months ago, it went to as low as 1.2 million barrels a day. And that was scandalously low for a country that's dependent on crude oil. So going forward, I think we should be able to meet that 1.88 and even more. Even if we are, the target should be to get our rig heads operational to about 20. We should be able to do close to 2 million then. I also believe that we can do that 62. Oil had been trending at an average $70 per barrel in the last two months, and there are projections that it won't fall even to $65 through 2022. So if that is the case, let us have, rather than have it go into the excess crude account, where all manners of discretionary, measures would have to be applied. Let us have clear projections on what we are expecting, and how we want to spend going forward. But I am not comfortable with the added deficits. I think there are concerns, obviously, on the debting and all that, to also now add that $98 billion. Billion naira. I think it's getting too ambitious, But again, the budget as it is telling me that the government priorities are being taken care of. Area of roads construction, you see about 470 billion naira allocated capital to works and housing, 285 billion allocated to agriculture, 204 billion to defense. Those are the top 3 allocated entities, ministries, in terms of capital. So it tells me, okay, that's the area the government is interested in. But the truth of the matter is, our the capital budgetary allocation are still very, very low, Well, perhaps we are being creative about it by all these other interventions, intervention entities, the Infraco that is upcoming, the NSIA, the Nigerian Sovereign Insurance, investment authorities and all that. I hope that we would be able to get this driving the economy, because the budget size is still low. That's still my consideration here.
All right, Neil, thank you very much. Shuaibu Idris, let's also get your opening salvo on this issue.
Kingsley, thank you, fellow discussant. I beg to differ in some of the positions my professional colleagues have taken. Number one, I feel the National Assembly, and in particular the House of Representatives, shouldn't have increased the benchmark or the assumption on the crude oil price from 57 to 62. The medium expenditure framework that was approved by the same National Assembly after being submitted by the executives did think about the potentials of the demand and supply of oil before we agreed at 57. So I feel it is a bit of an exuberance. Just 1 year after approval of the MTEP to increase the benchmark price from 57 to $62. I think number 2 is, despite the increase, what we expected was, if anything, you increase the benchmark oil price, which is the major revenue source of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we should have seen a reduction in the deficit. or we should have seen an avenue of repayment of debt. We didn't see that. Instead, even the deficit has been increased by additional $98 billion, billion naira rather. I mean, this is the figures are not adding up. Lastly, on the issue of increase in the benchmark, is we need to be saving for the rainy day. And I repeat, this nation and those of us alive today needs to be saving for our children and children or grandchildren yet unborn. We make money and we spend, and we are spending not just for our own time, but the future of our children. If we are not saving, if we don't accrue into the excess accrued account or the NSIA, the National Sovereign Investment Wealth Authority, if we don't save, when there are shocks, where do we run to? I'm also surprised that the appropriation bill passed by the House of Representatives did not appear to take into cognizance the finance bill that was first presented prior to the appropriation bill. And the House of Representatives did consider that finance bill. The finance bill has several, features, particularly areas where revenues are being considered and they are likely going to be implemented. The Minister of Finance, Honorable Minister of Finance, did inform Nigerians that breast of come 2022, you will pay a little more tax so that, our debt to revenue can reduce and we can get even more money into the kitties of government, and then we give you the, the dividends of democracy. So what I personally expect to see and to be seen in future budgets, fundamentally, number one, what savings are we making as regards expenditure? Kinsley, Kirian, fellow discussant, in the last 5-6 years that I've been associated with this program, we've always been talking about recurrent expenditure too high, What is the executive doing to reduce the recurrent expenditure? What is the National Assembly doing to help and ensure that recurrent expenditure is significantly reduced? It is important that in budgeting, we should have a section of the income that we are using to fund the budget to come from savings, belt tightening, austerity measure. We can't continue to run life as if it is business as usual. This is business unusual. This country deserves better mechanism of governance, better mechanism of spending, as opposed to what we are doing. Secondly, we also need to take a critical look at our debt. It is increasing, getting higher. The international financial system is gradually coming to terms with the reality of the situation. The US, continental Europe are likely going to increase interest rate. Once interest rates are increased, our debt servicing obligation will also increase. I'm sorry, I have to differ with the House of Representatives again and the executive on the issue of exchange rate. The Naira today on the parallel market is trading in excess of 530, 550 Naira. We're still holding the official exchange rate at 410 Naira. What that posits is rent seeking is continuing in the economy. The central bank and indeed the executive needs to come to terms with the reality that there may be a need to devalue the currency. It is a bitter pill. I know it is not normal that executives will come to say we will devalue, but when you are ill and you have to take drugs, you better take the drugs so that you get well. The Naira might end up around 600, 610 Naira by the end of 2022, and we are still holding our budget assumption at 410 Naira. I think that aspect needs to be looked at. Finally, Kinsley and Kirian, I believe the National Assembly and the Executive are not being realistic with an oil output of daily production of 1.88. Investment has not been coming into that sector. You know, we have several challenges. We've been producing, as Nia has said, at 1.2 million barrels a day. And we are now, you know, planning to say come January 1, in the next 2 weeks, we will be producing 1.88 million barrels per day. It's like telling you, I, Shoaibu, that has never flown a plane, I will pilot a plane in the next 24 hours. Let's be realistic. Let's test ourselves the bitter truth. We probably should have interjected and said the daily production should be somewhere around 1.5, 1.6 million barrels a day, as opposed to, you know, the humongous figure of 1.88 million. And in the last 3 years or 4 years, there has never been 1 year where or when we were able to meet our daily oil production. And I have always said this whenever we have this conversation, we need to take that into consideration.
Well, all right, thank you. He has actually touched in the real mechanics, you know, of budgeting and assumptions, you know. But the major is the aspect of revenue projections in this country, which always hinged on the what is expected to accrue from the oil sector. Now, the House of Reps jacked it up to $62 per barrel. Presently, it is at 57. What is the implication of this, Prof?
Yeah, the implication is obvious. Obvious in the sense that the 3 tiers of government will be expecting more revenue. And before now, a number of states, you know, have done their budgets, you know, based on the original projections. That's $57 per barrel. So these states will also now be expecting more if they are to revise their estimates, you know, based on 62, dollars per barrel. But let me also say, perhaps for emphasis, that yes, we may have, or the National Assembly may have looked at projections by international energy agencies, such as the one by the Energy Information Administration, the US EIA, the World Bank, including rating services. But you also recall that in 2014, for example, none of these agencies, you know, foresaw the sudden crash in oil price, you know, from over $100 per barrel to at some point $30-something per barrel. None of them saw that coming. We also had that experience even during in 2020 as a result of COVID. Now we have a major threat, you know, facing the global economy, which is the Omicron, you know, variant. Nobody knows, you know, how it's going to turn out in 2022, and it was even against that backdrop that the IMF, you know, had to revise, you know, their growth projections for the world, you know, GDP growth projections for the world from 6% to 4.4% in 6% for 2021, and then down to 4.4% for 2022. So if you now look at these possible risks, you know, global risks and economic headwinds, you wouldn't be too optimistic when you are, you know, making your estimate for 2022. So I still strongly think that the National Assembly, you know, should have allowed that $57 per barrel, okay? Because in the first instance, that is what is contained in the medium-term expenditure framework that has already been, you know, been passed. So if we are looking at shoring up revenue, we should be looking at the non-oil sector. It's a good thing, and I also want to commend this administration for the practice of always accompanying the budget or the appropriation bill with the finance bill. Okay, the House of Reps equally considered the finance bill of 2021. You know, that also has you know, some measures to shore up revenue. In the appropriation, in the 2022 budget proposal, the government, you know, made it clear some of the initiatives it intends to use in 2022 to shore up revenue under the strategic and revenue, you know, growth initiatives. Okay, one of which is to ensure, tax compliance. The other also to, ensure some expenditure control, as well as ensure that MDAs also remit their surpluses, to the federal government. So we should be looking at the non-oil side. If we must increase revenue, the federal government has a plan to, move our revenue to GDP from 6 to 8% to 15%, in a very short while. So that's not talking about oil revenue, because oil revenue is highly volatile. So I don't subscribe to the idea of increasing benchmark oil price, because anything can happen. And it also makes sense to begin to effect spending cuts in the middle of a possible drop, in oil price. We have a provision for supplementary budget. So even if oil price increases to, by more than what is planned, is it not in the benefit, to our benefit? The money will still come to the Federation. Whether you keep it in excess crude account also belongs to the Federation. And as has been canvassed here, it's important we create a fiscal buffer. Okay, it's also important we see how we can use additional revenue to reduce the budget deficit, because debt is growing. Kinsley, I want to make a point here. The point I want to make is more of a question. I've been wondering, Kinsley, you're a lawyer. Maybe you can also help to answer the question. Yes. Section 11 of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, Section 11, yes, of the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007, now talks about the power of the National Assembly with respect to the medium-term expenditure framework. We don't have that in the Constitution. The Constitution, Section 81 of the Constitution says the President, is expected to lay before the National Assembly the estimates of revenue and expenditure at any time before the end of the year. The Fiscal Responsibility Act, goes on to say that the medium-term expenditure framework should be laid before them at least 4 months before the end of which the government has been doing. But what that Section 11 is saying is that the National Assembly has the power to amend the medium-term expenditure framework, okay, as it deems, if it deems fit. So that amendment, does it mean that they have the power to jack up what has been submitted, or to make amendments within the envelope that has been submitted? In other words, the President submits 16.3 trillion. The amendment, shouldn't it be within that size of the envelope, rather than saying you want to, you have the power to jack it up? And that is why I've always said that we need a budget law in this country, rather than the pieces of legislation here and there, that we often cite to support the budget. We need a budget law that will codify these things and, take away some of these, controversies, so that tomorrow, when this appropriation bill, when this, that has been passed, gets to the President, okay, he doesn't say no, and then we begin to count 30 days again, okay, within which the National Assembly will be talking about overriding, okay. So, and of course, that will delay budget implementation. So, in sum, I'm saying that I'm commending the National Assembly, House of Reps, for doing what they have done, but the idea of increasing the oil price benchmark should be revisited. The Senate should also, look at it and possibly come back within what has been, stated in the medium-term expenditure framework.
Well, Professor Uche Waloke, you said you were going to ask me a question, but I was waiting for the question, yes, so that I become a guest. I mean, in the meantime. But I think the point you're making is framed around the controversy that we've had, more particularly in the Fourth Republic, that's since 1999, as to the role of the legislature in dealing with the appropriation bill, yes, tabled by the executive branch, whether at the state level or at the federal level. And the controversy had been hot at some point to say that, look, the Constitution does not envisage a rubber-stamp legislature. To say, you have given us this, you have all the parameters, all we need to do, you have tied our hands, then we have to walk around this. But that where the legislature feels that there ought to be amendments, either by way of increase or by way of decrease, that's what amendment means. Then you could, of course, do that. But the way out of it, out of the controversy, had been increased interaction between the executive branch and the legislature even before the bill is presented.
Absolutely.
So we have seen that happen during the President Muhammadu Buhari administration increasingly, so that it is not in the open that controversies blow up, and then everybody's wondering, say, why did you do this or why didn't you do that? But the key points that, gentlemen, you have raised about the oil benchmark would be symptomatic, if you like, of a key issue that we also need to address. Because when you look at the principal pieces of legislation that should govern public financial management, including the appropriation bill, for instance, which then becomes an act, one of the most important pieces of legislation that the legislature can pass. Take it this way: we don't have the NDP yet as a piece of legislation. NDP being the National Development Plan, but that is the umbrella. Then you now have the FRA, which is the Fiscal Responsibility Act. There are key provisions there. From that, you have the MTEF. From MTEF, you now have the appropriation bill itself. And then from the appropriation bill, you have the finance bill, which now also becomes a finance act when passed. The finance bill is to enable the fuller implementation of the appropriation act.
Yes.
And the question has been raised in the course of this conversation that there appears to be no fuller attention to the provisions of these other pieces of legislation, like the finance bill, for instance, or finance act, if it comes out, and then the MTEF. What is happening, let me ask you, Niyi, to the legislature? Is it blindsided by some of these other extant provisions, or that it just takes the appropriation bill as a sole piece of legislation without full recourse to what is intended in the other supportive, if you like, pieces of legislation?
I think blindsided would better describe the situation we're looking at, because it's supposed to be a global thing. When you're looking at the appropriation bill, you are supposed to link it with all possible principal legislation, that has to do with fiscal management, finance and fiscal management. The Finance Bill 2021, as it were, has opened up, not increased, because I understand, by my understanding of the bill, there is no increase in rates. It's just a wider coverage of rates. A wider coverage of taxes, and I think which is appropriate at this point in time. And there's a need, for the. I would have expected, and I was looking for such, input, in the passage by the House of Reps, where we'll see defined increase in non-oil sector. I know specifically that the financial bill and the Finance Bill 2021 speaks to taxing, gaming, gambling, and all that. That is one segment of the economy that had not been brought formally into the fiscal net. So I would have expected a kind of projection that from these segments of the economy, and it has become broad, really. It covers corporate promotions, bettings, casinos, and all that. So even as a layman in that sub-industry, I could project some 20, 30 billion naira coming from there. So I think that could have been added. If that had been added to what we are talking about, we would have been reducing the 98 billion new deficit, by some $30 billion naira, And then, of course, if we look at other segments that are highlighted in the Finance Bill 2021, perhaps they wouldn't be talking of the 98 billion naira. That for me is out of it. It should actually be revisited. But I am all for this increase. I feel that it can be accommodated. The $5 increase in the benchmark, I think it can be accommodated. And I think that from the word go, it's good that we have a clear vision of what the bill or the act, when it becomes an act, will be able to deliver in the next 12 months in that cycle. But perhaps if the National Assembly is hearing us now, the appeal will be that 98 billion naira. there should be some other imputation driven by the finance bill, as it were. The House of Reps had also passed it together with the bill, with the appropriation bill. Let us key into those provisions, as it were, and see how new revenues can be earned, and then, of course, add to what is on ground, remove that 98 billion. It's not even exactly sensitive at this point in time.
Well, gentlemen, it does appear that this budget did not take a cognizance of the non-oil sector, as Ni highlighted a short while ago. Because I was wondering all through the budget, I did not see the non-oil sector playing a role in terms of what could be accruable to the nation's revenue base, as to provide some level of assistance to the oil sector, which everybody is clamoring for. Let's bring in our man Shuaibu Idris once more. You have listened to both Professor Waleke and Nii on this very issue, and Kingsley also raised the issue of a piece of legislation that should be supportive, to the appropriation bill itself, which perhaps were highly ignored, this time around. Now, can we really achieve a realistic budget based on what we have seen today? This House of Reps budget has been passed. We're expecting Senate to also look at it. What would you be expecting from the Senate? Would there be a reconsideration of those pieces of legislation that were ignored, and of course the non-oil sector, with respect to, of course, the 98 billion budget deficit that we had of yesterday?
Kieran, thank you once again for that question. Number one, I think it will be wrong for us to think that the House of Reps didn't take into consideration the non-oil sector. The income from, say, custom duties or federal inland revenue service, stamp duties, and other, surcharges that are being collected, like, say, by Corporate Affairs Commission and other revenue-generating agencies. Of course, the budget did take into that, because when you look at 17 trillion naira expenditure, all the monies isn't coming from the oil sector. So, yes, there are considerations. Were they glozing over, some of those? Maybe yes, maybe no. However, what I think and what I will suggest to the members of the National Assembly, both House of Representatives and the Senate, is to endeavor to use the resources given to them to hire professionals to help them to review documents coming to them prior to taking action. There has been a talk on the need to remove subsidy, both oil or petroleum product subsidy and electricity subsidy, and the need to possibly introduce toll gates on our highways so that revenues can accrue. I will want to see a budget that is hinged and talking along those areas, so that the level of wastage can significantly reduce. What are my expectations from the Senate? Gentlemen, if you look at say the statistics of members of the National Assembly, the lower chamber is supposed to be populated by people like me, who are younger generations and a little vibrant. The red chamber or the Senate is supposed to be populated by matured men and women who will, like the saying goes, the younger one wants to run like Bullet Ben Johnson, and the elders will say, hey, apply the brake. So I want to see a moderating outcome of this budget from the red chamber. Naturally, I will want to see a situation where the elders in the National Chamber should have a feel for the future generations of Nigerians. We should save. We should imbibe the culture of saving. We should imbibe the culture of reducing waste significantly. We are still a nation of profligate, personalities. Only yesterday or day before yesterday, Elon Musk, one of the richest men on planet Earth today, was reputed to say that he will be paying about $11 billion US dollars as tax. That is what 36 states of this nation, and indeed the federal government, would have collected in the last 5 years. Do we have Elon Musk types in Nigeria? The answer is yes. How much money are we collecting from them? Are we using or misusing, waivers, concessions, and other forms of, peerages that we give to our powerful men and women? I think the executive, the National Assembly, should help us. If indeed we want to run a democratic government, we want to be fair and sincere to this country and to the citizens, we need to endeavor to ensure that we insist people pay taxes. At the beginning of this conversation, we did allude to the fact that federal revenues budget is about 230 or 250 billion naira. Gentlemen, 250 billion naira by federal revenue to be spent on what and for what? So the wastage in various government agencies is humongous, and the earlier we work up and block some of those leakages and loopholes, the better for us.
Idris, thank you very much there for the points that you have raised, including having to close up the sources of the huge recurrent expenditure. Just before we take this break, gentlemen, I want us to also take a look at this, because when you view the overall appropriation bill as passed now by the House of Representatives and the dissonance that there is with some of the other aspects of either the finance bill or other things, there are some issues that will come up. One of them will be as follows. Some weeks ago, there was a lot of drama, if you may, about inviting cash cow agencies to come and defend their budget, because they said, the National Assembly members said that they never always had a full picture of what those cash cow agencies were doing. Central Bank, NNPC, and a couple of others we said, look, you must come and defend your budget, X, Y, Z. Now, the question would be, what emerged from those interactions? If what emerged from those interactions means that we could not still scrape off from whatever will be in their reserves or whatever they will be earning to boost our earnings, and therefore reduce either the debt burden or even the deficit overall, to say, look, we are going to have this one. If you are expecting more revenue from these cash cow agencies about whom there was a lot of optics to say you must come, you must issue a statement here and there. How do you relate to that, Professor Uche Waleke?
Yeah, thank you, Kinsley. First is to note that I don't think I agree with the view that you have this disparity or wide disparity between the finance bill, the MTEF, the appropriation bill, and even the National Development Plan. I think the appropriation bill, 2022 appropriation bill, is a product of the medium-term expenditure framework, which is also why I'm arguing that since the medium-term expenditure framework has been approved by this same National Assembly, that should also mean that the appropriation bill, should be, passed with, little amendments, because increasing the oil price benchmark would be going contrary to what you had already passed, what is in the medium-term expenditure framework. So that meant to be disparity. Yeah, no. Ordinarily, it flows from there. Right. Every other thing was kept intact. All the targets, all the benchmarks, kept intact, except for that oil price benchmark, which is why I'm advising that they should return it the way it is. Before I get to your question, let me say something briefly on this issue of exchange rate, which was alluded to. Yes, if you look at the medium-term expenditure framework for 2022-2024. All through the 3 years, the government has used 410 naira 15 kobo to the dollar as the exchange rate. 410. Okay, people might say that's not realistic. But of course, you know, when you are doing a budget, you wouldn't be using a rate that is outside of the prevailing official exchange rate, because if you do so, you are sending a signal that there's an intention to devalue the naira, and that can cause a lot of distortions, you know, a lot of speculative activities, you know, in the system. So I want to say that yes, they are very much in alignment, and it's important that that rate is maintained. Now, the issue of government independent revenue, if you look at the 2022 budget, the share of government independent revenue and what the government expects to get from the government enterprises is way higher than what we had in 2021. Okay, and that's perhaps on the assumption that more money will come in from government enterprises in line with the strategic growth, revenue growth initiative, of the government, which is why I'm happy that unlike previously, some of these agencies of government, at least we're beginning to see their financials. Let's talking about, for example, the NMPC, that is beginning now to publish its financials. So it's easy now to see what is likely to come in from NMPC. So I think that was also factored in arriving at the huge amounts already provided, coming in by way of, from government independent revenue in the 2022 budget. Of course, we may not really see the full picture, but what's important is that at least government expects to get, something, from these agencies.
Well, when Fiscal was talking about the cow-catch, agencies going to defend their budget, if you're expecting the budget to be reduced, what we often see is increase in what has been budgeted. So the defense does not really matter when it comes to reduction. What you get is increase. That was when we started hearing about budget padding and what have you. That is obvious because, of course, if you have carried out some research on that, to discover that, look, in some cases, some agencies will go to defend their budget only to come back and have added some, against expected reduction, as the case may be. Well, we're taking a short break now. When we return, we will continue with the conversation. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Do stay with us.
I'm the Chief Resident Engineer and Project Supervisor of the Second Niger Bridge Project. The Second Niger Bridge Project is a project that has been conceived for a very long time, but it has finally come to life during this present administration. This project has a lot of socio-economic benefits, and it has impacted positively on the lives of the host communities, both in Anambra State and Delta State. The people are very happy. The host communities, they partnered with us because apart from the social benefits, indigenes are also employed on this project. We can see how their lives are being improved.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Everybody knows the secret to good cooking is that special ingredient. The mothers know it, but does this new generation know it? Let's find out. Mothers, daughters, are you ready? Yes!
Let the cooking begin.
Erisco tomato paste.
Now we get home, now we get love.
Now we get children.
We spice the world.
With a meal so great and so healthy.
You know we've got your back. Oh, with Erisco, Rigico, Nagico.
Ladies and gentlemen, food is ready.
Erisco tomato.
Aládùn pẹ̀lú.
Rigico tomato paste.
Hi,
Nagico tomato paste. Good food for the body. Yum yum for the body.
Erisco Rigico and Nagico tomato paste is made by Erisco Foods Limited, feeding Africans with healthy foods.
Since coming into office in 2015, the Buhari administration has recorded unprecedented achievements in all sectors, especially in the provision of infrastructure, which is the key to economic growth. Never in the history of this country has any administration done so much with so little. I recall that when this administration came into office, the price of crude oil, which provides for 80% of Nigeria's budgetary revenues and 95% of foreign exchange earning, dropped drastically, thus reducing the amount of resources available to the federal government. In spite of this, the administration has continued apace with massive infrastructure developments.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
We have come to the end of another successful year. We wish to appreciate all those who mean so much to us. Our clients, the 3 tiers of government, ministries, departments, and agencies, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties. You are esteemed viewers. Together, we made 2021 great. Together, we shall make 2022 greater. Thank you. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year from all of us at NTA.
You're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Nia Kisujo, our guest, along with Professor Chue Waleke and Shuaibu Idris. The other guests are still with us on the today's conversation. Nia, I asked the question about the cash cow agencies, if you may, and what impact that has had. Did we, that's to say, if I say we now, our representatives, did they make any discoveries? As to say, oh yes, we had this suspicion, now these are the new discoveries, and if they made any such discoveries, do you see the impact on the bill that they have passed?
Yeah, I think they did. Specifically in their statement, they talked about increasing revenues expected from the cash cow agencies, as you described, by 400 billion naira. You know, and that's appreciable. Though we have not seen the breakdown, but the fact that they have that 500 billion naira addition from those MDAs shows that they were very clinical in their investigation, because they actually set up an investigation committee to look into the books of these people while they are also engaging them. So 400 billion, okay, but it could be better. I still believe that there are still a lot of avenues to boost whatever earnings are expected from the MDAs, especially the revenue generating MDAs, and perhaps even more than that is to also encourage them to also think global, global transparency too. The more these MDAs bring their books, their financials into the public space, the more expert analysts are able to also see opportunities, in those books and also advise them as it were. So being opaque is not exactly encouraging, and it's not exactly patriotic too. We've had a situation where we had the biggest cash cow of them, NNPC, priding itself in being opaque in its financials, and we did not see any improvement in the management and financial capabilities and capacity of that particular entity until it started, publishing and publicly circulating its financials, its papers. And it's based on that people saw what's happening and could also make suggestions, create advocacy around where they could improve their capacity and their revenue generation capabilities. So now we are seeing an NNPC, for instance, that is improving on its operating profits, talking about operating surpluses and all that, things that were very foreign, alien, to the NNPC books. We are seeing effort by SCBN also to also come into the public space. We are seeing more activities on the side of the NIT, I think that is being supported by government, to also engage the extractive industry, players in the extractive industry, to be more transparent. For the Nigerian administrator, and I'm not just talking about the federal level only, even through to the subnational, the issue of transparency is like anitma. It's seen as a sentiment of ambush. It's seen as a sentiment of putting your nose where it does not belong. But
and it's seen, if you may, let's chip in there. It's seen as an invasion of privilege. Of
their own territory.
Of privilege. Who are you?
This is my turf. You have no business in my turf. And right. But unfortunately, the impact is erosional. It is when you bring what you are doing into the public space that you have the fools comment, and you give the opportunity of the wise to also comment. And the wise, by the time you balance it, there will be a huge difference, So I think what should drive our fiscal activities at the federal level, at the subnational level, should be the idea of transparency, so that people, even before decisions are made, people had opportunity to make their inputs, and the decision makers are also empowered, to be able to take from all this multitude of thoughts to create more stronger policies going forward.
All right, Shabi Idris, let's bring you in here on this very issue of being transparent in our major agencies, especially, since we described with the cash cow agencies like NNPC, CBN, NAITI, and others. Are you seeing?
No, Kirian. NAITI is not a cash cow. NAITI is the only government agency that has transparency in its name.
Because going by the name, yes, right. Transparency. Now, are you envisaging a situation where being transparent in all these big agencies will help in the fiscal balance?
Kirim, before I answer your question, let me just correct a wrong impression Professor Uche may have had. I do not think that I will want to see a budget forecasting or budgeting exchange rate to be at 500 naira. That will send wrong signal to the market. Number two, I think, Prof, you also got it wrong, because earlier part of the year, January, February, March, exchange rate naira to dollar official was somewhere around 330, 340. It was middle of the year that the central bank decided to merge the I&E window and what it calls the official exchange rate, which we had 405 naira. So these are facts and they can be cross-checked. Kingsley Kirian, if you remember, we had discussion on exchange rate here, and Professor Mike Obadan and co came on board, and we posited that there was need to correct the anomaly. And to God be the glory, Central Bank listened to some of those recommendations, and there was a merger of the rates. Now, to the question of cash cows and intrusion into their privacy, quote and unquote, Kingsley, again, if you remember, we discussed about TSE, the Treasury Single Account here, and the fact that 5 years down the line, when TSA was introduced, we still have government agencies, parastatals, not keen into TSA, and monies being sloshed into one account or another. I would have thought, and any right-thinking person would have thought also, that when the National Assembly poked into, and I use the word poke-nose in parentheses, into this cash cow account, and they came across those 200, 400, or 500 billion naira, what should have happened should be that the Auditor General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should be questioned and, if possible, be punished. How on earth will that be happening, and the person occupying that position didn't find out those, anomalies? The directors of finance and indeed those chief executive of the agencies who hid those revenues from government should also have been queried and possibly punished. Gentlemen, during President Obasanjo's tenure, I think second term, Obasanjo was trying to balance the budget. Then NITEL was still in existence, and NITEL in its account was about 1 billion or 2 billion naira that was hidden somewhere, and that was the money the government used to balance the account. So there are agencies that have so much, and they are generating so much money, and the system is clear. There are agencies that are expected to generate and remit. Agencies like immigration, they are not expected to touch a single dime of whatever they generate. There are agencies that are allowed to generate, spend, and remit. There are other agencies that are allowed to just generate and spend because they are not expected to remit anything, like the universities. Now, if you have agencies that are mandated to generate and remit, or generate, spend, and remit, and they are still not rendering account or not submitting to the TSA, what are we talking about? The Accountant General of the Federation should wake up from his slumber and make sure that these agencies comply. Do you even need to wait for the National Assembly to call these agencies to come and defend their budget? And like Kirian, you alluded, should we be seeing an oversight function by the National Assembly to look at budget of these agencies simply to say, okay, go ahead, spend the money? We are still not being thrifty. We are still not being austere. We are still being so profligate. And I'm still, with my loud voice talking about the need to exercise some care and caution. If we have to pay our debts, if we must be responsible, we have to manage our spendings, we have to manage our expenditure. We have a budget that is 70% recurrent expenditure, 30% capital expenditure. And for the last 7-10 years, we've been talking about the need to rebalance this budget to make sure that more of our spending should go into capital. Are we seeing that? Finally, is the issue of allowing corporate Nigeria to handle certain projects. Only yesterday, there was a signing ceremony between the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and Minister of Works to handle some roads. What is happening? Are we saying that the revenues accruing to the center will now reduce because such agreements will definitely mean the tax that should have gone into the Commonwealth of Nigeria will no longer go into Commonwealth of Nigeria? I think it is also important that I should introduce another dimension to the budget. The sectoral allocation appears to be a little bit lopsided. We have the NSA office getting 155 billion. The Ministry of Defense getting over 900 billion. Together is over a trillion naira. When you look at the budget for the health, education, and agriculture, how much is, can we really say we are serious given what is allocated to these ministries? Shouldn't we begin to have a rethink? Defense for whom? And are we getting value for our money? Are Nigerians being defended? when every day we are either being kidnapped, maimed, killed, or attacked by Boko Haram. Only 3-4 days ago, my local government, Giwa local government, 52 people were killed. I mean, defense for whom? I think we should also address the sectoral allocation and the need for the National Assembly and the executive to make sure that future allocation should be done based on value for money and based on the needs by Nigerians.
All right, Shuaibu Idris, thank you very much for your thoughts on this topic. Just before we wrap up, in a few minutes, if you like, I'm told by our director that this could be just about 60 seconds. The point has been touched on briefly. We have the appropriation bill passed by the House. We are awaiting that of the Senate, and then if it's accented to by the President, then we have the Appropriation Act 2022. But already, Nigeria has indicated we are now in the fourth wave of coronavirus, and it's on account of Omicron. And we are seeing what is happening in the Western world. Netherlands into total lockdown, Germany restricting the inflow of travelers from the UK. Now, are we mindful of the external shocks that may arise from what has been projected to be a harsh winter of coronavirus for the Northern Hemisphere, where you have the world's leading economies? And if so, will all of these numbers continue to hold? Or we should get a more realistic attitude towards what 2022 will hold for us? Uche.
Kinsley, that's the point I made at the beginning of this program. I said, the new estimates that we have, revenue projections, don't appear to take into cognizance the risks that we, global economy, is likely to face in 2022, which is why I still say that I didn't see the need to raise the oil price benchmark from $57 to $62. The other thing too has to do with the expenditure side itself. You see, before now, after the president made this, appropriation bill, laid it before the National Assembly, before now we've had, all manner of conversations, around it, including the ones, especially by non-state actors, the NGOs. And these NGOs, have pointed out clearly that in the documents, there would appear to be, some duplications, some items that ordinarily ought not to be there. I wonder whether those were taken into cognizance by the National Assembly, when they merely returned everything apart from, increasing the estimates. And the Speaker of the National Assembly, made that point. The House of Reps made that point when he said that there was need to, rationalize agencies. There was need to even shut down some that, are no longer of value. So by doing so, I think going forward in future, I would like to see the recurrent, component of the budget, reduced considerably.
Neil, 15 seconds.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, I just want to make a brief response to Shuaib's in Lagos concern over the sectorial allocation. I think security is a major concern at this point in time. And if we are doing the 99 billion that he's talking about is even for recurrence. There's a need to recruit more, more soldiers, more police and all that. So you expect the recurrent arm to still go up. I'm even bothered with what is allocated to the capital, 204 billion. I think that's what will be used to acquire, arms and ammunition and all that. I think it's low, given the kind of challenges we are facing now.
But he talks about value for money.
Yeah, well, value for money. The truth also is that it's just recently that we are actually arming our arsenal. We've had issues of corruption, where how many generals have been placed under investigation and all that for diverting.
And on trial.
And on trial too, over time.
All right, need 15 seconds will give you a grace.
Thank you for
additional grace. Gentlemen, we appreciate your being with us on Good Morning Nigeria. As always, a delight. Our roving financial and economic analyst, Shuaibu Idris, last time he was with us from Sokoto, today with us in Lagos. Deep thanks for your insights always on Good Morning Nigeria. We hope you enjoy your holidays. Also here with us in the studios, Professor Uche Waleke. Deep thanks also for being around. Niya Kinsiju, we appreciate you always as a guest on Good Morning Nigeria.
Well, and that's it for today's edition of the program Good Morning Nigeria. Well, we thank you for watching. Come back again tomorrow when we bring you a fresh edition of the morning show. My name is Kirian Umaya. Do have a pleasant day.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
This week on Executive Discuss.
For me, loyalty is 100%. There's no 99.9% loyalty. And loyalty is not only when things are going on smoothly. Loyalty to me means walking in when others are walking out.
Did you get to see the way Daily Babadu pulls this? Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue.
That is
can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of...
Congratulations, you were able to sign Tino Werner from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
People have used their phone, using TikTok to do that.
Should I go for test?
A lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Now, the wise ones have said that man proposes, but God disposes. To some people, it's just a saying, but it's the truth. It's something that truly, truly happens, and I've seen it happening. Welcome. This is Thoughts for the Week with me, Cordelia Ogbe. Now, let's start off by, answering some of these questions. Do you have parents who maybe now have retired, have gone back to the village, maybe they're somewhere close to you, or your in-laws? You have? Now the next question is, how often do you reach out to them? How often do you care for them? Question. Think about that. There are people who believe that they do not owe their parents anything at all. That after all, did I beg you to call me from heaven? I was staying on my own jeje when you gave birth to me, sending them to school, doing this and that. is something you ought to have done for them because you fathered them or mothered them, so they have come to believe, so they have come to say. But our elders, are they very happy with this? Not so. Let me share a story with you that our elders shared with us. The story of the woodpecker. The woodpecker is a bird that digs very well into wood and all that. It digs very well. At a point, the old mother had wanted to see him. Oh, I'll see her later, I'll see her later, I'll see her later. He kept saying that, procrastinating. And then the woodpecker had this very beautiful plan that whenever the old mother dies, he was going to dig a very beautiful grave for the mother using his very powerful beak. And alas, the mother died. And the woodpecker, on that very day of the burial, had a big ball on his beak. And so the woodpecker could not do what he had dreamt of doing, digging a big grave for the mother. Our elders say, if your relation is dancing well in an arena, but you do not have money to dole on him, your hearty cheers would do. Put simply, you may not have much to give to your parents right now, but your encouragement, talking to them, talking with them, visiting them when you can, would go a long way. It would be like you are cheering them on for all the work they've done. We've come to see that in this region, and maybe other parts of the world, I don't know about them, I'll speak about this region. You'll find that when somebody dies, an old man, woman dies, you find everybody rallying around the children trying to raise money to do what? To go and modify their home house, or to try and build a house before they can bury their loved ones. That can be very painful, especially when, maybe when they were alive, you didn't do anything at all for them. Now let me share some of these quotes with you. To care for those who once cared for you is one of the highest honors. Parents, they didn't leave you when you were young, so don't leave them when they are old. So, our thoughts for the week. Are you one of those who believe that your parents, you do not owe them anything when they become old and all retired because they did what they had to do for you because they gave birth to you and so on? Till I come your way again, do think about these things and remember that what goes around comes around. My name is Cordelia Ogbe. Take care.
Hello, always a delight to be with you, especially on this platform conversation. Today, we will be looking at something that is crucial. Yes, Maxwell has said in his pyramid that it is a basic, it is a fundamental, that is feeding. A lot of times we talk about food scarcity and all of that. Do we really have food scarcity, or is it that our options are a little bit off the menu because we can afford it? The truth is, Nigeria is a great nation. Nigeria is one nation that produces a whole lot of things, and are we eating enough of it? Incidentally, the medical people say that if we eat what we grow, we will live healthier. Yeah, I just gave you the topic. Eating what we grow. That's our focus for today. And I have experts who will tell you that if you want it in real food, we have it. We have it. If you want it as snacks, we have it. If you want it as drinks, we equally have it. And a lot of that will be displayed on the program today. And again, my name is Elizabeth, and I have people who are here, and they are better than me. In fact, I am no good at all compared to them. And they will be telling us more about how to consume what we eat. Let's start from you. Do your introduction yourself.
Okay. Good morning, viewers. My name is Mohammed Sani Garba, Executive Chairman of Business Visa and Training Company.
What does that do?
Yeah, basically what we do, we try to do something a bit different to aggregate what we even have. You cannot make assessment of what Nigeria owns first. You hear people talking about export. You are yet to identify what you even have in the country. We have so much, and especially the women, I focus attention on them.
Please, I need you to repeat that, especially
women.
Okay.
Yeah, we have quite a large outfit that most of them, 80% are women. And each of them, when you place them on what they have chosen of their own entrepreneur thing, we now allow them to come in. Don't scare them off. You can't make those assessments without an open door policy.
Okay,
So we allow them to come in with what they have chosen they want to venture into, no matter which stage they are.
Okay.
We look at it, and on the other hand, we have the government agencies, regulatory bodies, who have made their own standards very clear. So we put them through. You see, like the NAFTA thing, to be sincere, most of these women, widow, some secondary school dropout, but yet they have chosen to do something to better of their lives.
Okay, Dr. Sani, I'm going to hold you on there. You will still explain these things to me, because as we speak, a lot of women are watching and want to go in to find out how much you can train them and, of course, help them, become exporter, importer, and sometimes they call it ice water. All right. All right, and speaking about import exports, let me let you do your introduction, because I know you're around that territory.
My name is Aboma Simeon Anga, and I'm here today in my capacity as the CEO of BJ Consulting Farms, known for short as BJ Farms. We are commercial growers, processors, and global traders of agricultural food products. And today we are here to talk about one of our cherished products, which is mushroom. We'll be telling the viewers how God has blessed this nation with a super health food called mushroom. And this mushroom offers 3 value propositions to all Nigerians. The first is that it will provide you a highly nutritious food that is a balanced diet. The second is that it will put money in your pocket in a sustainable basis, creating wealth. And the third is that it will promote your health. Food, health, and wealth are the 3 value propositions mushroom provide every Nigerian. And mushroom speaks the language of all Nigerians. It's a truly unifier, because it's in every part of Nigeria.
Okay.
It's in every part of Nigeria, and we are here to unpack that.
Understand all of that. I see loads of mushroom at different stages on the table. You'll get to explain all of this as we move on. But I also know that as we speak, when we take our break, we'll be joined by another farmer who is equally, versatile. That's the SD Farm CEO, Dr. Stella Iwago. And while she's walking in, let's go to the street, get to find out Nigerians. We eat something. Let's find out snacks. What do they do when they want to munch a little bit? Snacks.
I eat biscuits. I don't eat most of these snacks. I prefer eating vegetable food and swallow.
Oh, meat pie. Meat pie.
I used to do kunu and buns. Because it's very nice and students enjoying it. That is why it's my favorite snacks.
I don't take snacks. I take only fruits. Because the snacks that we take in Nigeria, for instance, biscuit, the makeup, the process is very faulty. Pizza is once in a while, it's not a daily affair. Burger is the no-no. I don't go around there. What I take is fruits.
Before the harsh economy, my favorite snack has always been shawarma. I love shawarma. I do love shawarma. So, but now that to eat shawarma is even more than a model of rice. I've gone back to smaller biscuits. That's what I eat now.
Wow, shawarma, because I love the way they prepare it. I can use Coke.
My favorite snacks, chicken pie, because I like chicken so much.
My favorite snacks, I don't have, I'm not a snack type anyway, but I like taking biscuits, anytime I want to have something like that.
All right, I did tell you that when we come back, we will be joined by Dr. Stella Iwagu, and she's here with us. It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
And as usual, I see a lot of products. This time I see them in powdered form. That's the SD farm. You want to tell me what all these things are? Maybe a few of them, briefly.
Just a few of them. Well, we're looking at innovation in food as medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of the food that we eat has powerful medicinal properties. Number one is the antioxidants. All this plant food have powerful antioxidants, and they are better in their fresh form. Fresh is always best, but it's not always convenient to be able to get your ugu and squeeze it into juice, or get your fresh turmeric juice, or any of the things that you could take in juice form. So what we have done at SD Farms is to put them in powdered form, which makes it easier for you to reconstitute at any point. You bring out banana, in 2-3 days it's already spoiled. But when you powder it, you can have your banana benefit all year round. Banana is really very good for the blood pressure.
I'm not admitting.
And turmeric is actually one of my best ones. Turmeric is loaded in stem cell properties, stem cell regenerating properties. And people bring in stem cell from God knows where and tell us it's 50,000, it's this 1,000. But you can get, this is 500 naira. And you all know how cheap turmeric is in the market. But we need to have a lot of that, because turmeric helps in regulating our cholesterol. Turmeric helps in controlling blood pressure. It helps in inflammation. If you have a combination of turmeric, ginger, and lemongrass, and a few other herbs like scent leaf, it's as effective as any pain reliever that you can get. Lemongrass, which is an amazing aromatic plant, is very effective in reducing fever. Those are just really basic things. And apart from that, when you grow it in your garden, so we have the Ediscape, which is edible landscaping, using your edible landscaping. Instead of all the fancy flowers we plant around us, why don't we plant the things that can actually beautify our environment and also give us nutrients? For example, why are we growing royal palms when we can grow coconuts? You can have, there's actually a plant that looks just like turmeric and ginger that has beautiful flowers. You can still get that from having your turmeric and ginger. Can you imagine having turmeric and ginger as a potted plant? And then when you want your turmeric, you just dig into the soil and get your turmeric, grate it and eat, and then the plant remains and it's full of aroma. And
I also know that the aroma helps in scaring away certain insects.
Of course. Most of those plants with very strong aroma are they drive away insects, they repel insects, they repel snakes and some other rodents. So we really need to begin to use nature to our advantage.
All right. So let me. When you talked about packaging, I also noticed the BG farm is packaging something, and I did earlier say that you'll be explaining these things. Now, before we, went out, came back here, we were talking about snacks, and Nigerians mentioned a whole lot. I'm curious because I'm seeing mushroom, at different stages. This one looks like fried mushroom.
No, that's dried mushroom.
Okay, this one is dried mushroom. So can I do it as snacks?
Oh, from this dried stage, it's ready for you to transform into many of your food products.
Okay.
Mushroom can be used for baking if you transform them into flour. Just by
now can become
flour, yes.
Flour. Like seriously?
Yes, yes.
We have it. We have it in powdered form.
We all the bread we eat, we've stopped buying bread from the bakery. My wife bakes our family bread.
Really? Using
Yes,
mushroom?
adding mushroom as part of the composition for her flour to enhance the nutritional profile and quality of the flour.
You can mix them up.
You can mix turmeric and...
Yeah, my children loves pizza. So my wife uses the mushroom also as part of her ingredient for making pizzas for them.
Guys, you guys should bring out your notebook. This is the Nutrition 101.
There are 3 products, food snacks that my children go to buy every other day. Pizza is one, shawarma is the second, and then pie. So my wife invented recipes around these 3. She makes mushroom pies for them. In fact, they all know how to make mushroom pies themselves. They all know how to make shawarma from mushroom. She replaces the harmful meats, the red meat, and uses the mushroom.
So the mushroom can actually be like meat for
a
us.
Meat replacement. A replacement for meat protein.
Okay.
So think about mushroom as like a plant protein.
Plant protein, it is.
Oh, okay. It's not even vegetable, it's protein.
But
yes,
you
protein.
see, why do we
high
need
quality
to,
protein?
Why do we need to patronize foreign snacks when we have much better stuff and replacing the ingredients? For instance, he made mention of pies and shawarma. We have our own local delicacy. If we can now introduce it to the world, I tell you, if anybody knows the ingredient in there, give him a choice to take pizza or whatever. He will not dare go there. We should introduce that to the children.
Yes.
We have delicacies that are very rich. Okay, like we have in the north, we have the funkaso. Yes, I can.
That's kuli kuli.
That's it.
Well, kuli kuli very delicious.
We have, there is another kuli kuli we have, which is like
flakes.
Yes, like
I think
flakes.
I've seen that one too.
Yes, so that one.
So for those who are looking for biscuits, this is the best biscuits.
Most of the whites now, they are taking it with ice cream. I never knew they can take it with ice cream. But
oh, kuli kuli and ice cream.
Oh, yes. Delicious. Kuli kuli and Gary. Awesome.
I really make my kuli kuli because I don't like to munch. It's a bit hard.
We're the ones telling us the look.
So I make my smoothies, using kuli kuli.
Because that's a powerful protein.
It's really, really nice.
Very
really nice, yes.
So basically, you see, those are delicacies. It's not known to the world. And one thing we have which is unique, which we have to realize it, is God has given us the best of every commodity.
Can I have that?
And
absolutely.
That's tiger nut crunch.
This is cookies.
Yes, cookies made from tiger nuts.
Wow.
Wow. So everybody should have a bite of that. We have cookies made from scent leaf. We have cookies made from ginger. We have cookies made from mushroom. We have cookies made from turmeric. So you get every bite is helpful. So we replace sugar with dates. And we need fiber. We can have enough fiber.
And we have dates here in Nigeria.
We have a lot of dates.
Like in Jigawa State, we have much and different varieties. And beside that, even the Arabs, we dare them with one unique date that it gives you a milky taste. You will never knew. But if I give you now, you crunch it, you will think we must have added some milk in it. But it grows naturally like that.
Try that.
You see, all these things, if we are really serious, we can identify them, expose them. And like the president said, we should be using these things. After identifying them, first we knew we have unique products, which is not known to other world. And beside, in each product God gave us, we have them in variety. One single, like the granules we are talking about, we have more than 15 varieties of granules in Nigeria, which is difficult for someone to apprehend elsewhere. And we do have them.
I don't understand.
We even choose them. No. We choose the one
different
for
colors, different sizes, different nutritional
If you're
values.
going for oil, you want to extract the oil, it's a special species in Nigeria. You have choice. If you're going for kuli kuli, you're looking for more of the residue. Yes, you now choose the species you want. So we have all of this, which we need to identify them first. And again, since the government came forward and said, look, we should be using our stuffs, let them be on the front line. If, for instance, now you declared NTA should be using our own local snacks, This tea you're sharing there and snacks, biscuit when you have guests, it's not free. They bought it. And you cannot tell where those things came in from. Some of them, how long they have been on transit before they get here. But these ones, we can get them as fresh as anything.
But
you know?
Seriously, on this set, the granuts and the kulikuli is a constant. Seriously, but I'm going to add the tiger nut cookies
one out of 1,000.
Mushrooms, yes. We always insist on made in Nigeria in this set.
That's beautiful.
Fantastic. Then if that's the case, let's say, take it as a habit, or let's all of us now lean on the call of Mr. President. Henceforth, it's a duty. Water has to be Nigerian. Your snacks has to be. Even the soap you are cleaning the offices with. All these women can produce it, entrepreneurs. And one other thing we should know about our water is regarded like a medicine. Some of us, if you travel to China, you will be seeing the same water, but different prices. Why? High alkaline level in it.
Wow.
Our own here in Nigeria, the ones we can even take anybody to sweet it, like the one in Plateau State, the Swan water, the one in Yankari, which is just bubbling and out there, the one in Taraba State, they are all just wasting away. And those are no longer equal to any other water because of the high level of alkaline in it. So if we can package these things, use it ourselves, nobody will see Nigerians and think we're malnourished or looking, we're not eating healthy.
You know,
none of us, even those ones you call them alwajiri, look at them plumpy and so strong.
Yes.
Because of what we are eating. So why can't we share with the rest of the world? You know?
Okay. So now let's still move back to the BG farm here. I also see some of these things packaged. I guess those are mushroom as well. Is it the same thing as what I have here?
Yeah, so on the set, we are saying at the very basic,
pasta.
Yeah, at the very basic, you can have mushroom available for you as fresh mushroom or as dried mushroom. Between the fresh and the dried, it could go into any meal, any national meal cooked in Nigeria. All the soups.
I like the way you say national meal.
Yes, national.
Is it the ones they eat on National Day?
No, every day.
is a national day.
Oh, okay.
Everyday soup, everyday soup, everyday stew.
Like I made Oha soup this morning.
Exactly. So
and
mushroom
I've
find
seen
itself
mushrooms smiling in it.
Don't get me what
Exactly.
I actually have some in the car. I'll give you some.
So what we are saying is, mushroom is an everyday food for everyday Nigerians. It finds itself relevant in every food you eat and you cook. So the fresh and the dried plays that role. But beyond just eating fresh and dried mushroom, mushroom can also be transformed as an important ingredient into many high-value food products. An example is pasta. Nigeria is a pasta-eating country. Noodles, Indomie, pasta. Right. This is pasta. The same way you think about noodles, the same way you think about Indomie, macaroni. So rather than eat those highly processed ones, because of the high nutritional value of mushroom, anything you add mushroom to increase or improves the nutritional profile of that food product. So if you eat Indomie that has little or no value nutritionally, noodles. If you eat any noodles with very little nutritional value, and you incorporate mushrooms into them, immediately they become
a whole food.
Exactly.
Balanced diet.
It becomes like a balanced diet because mushroom is a balanced diet. So
this mushroom is protein.
It's protein.
It's not just
mineral.
It's vitamin.
Amazing vitamins
minerals.
and rare minerals that you don't get in other food commonly. Yeah.
It's also dietary fiber.
It has a lot of dietary fiber, which makes it good for people who are dealing with weight loss issue, who are dealing with colon cancer, who are dealing with prostate issues. So mushroom is food and medicine rolled into one.
It's also rich in antioxidants, a lot of antioxidants. And it also is rich in biotic compounds that has medicinal properties and healing properties as well, or healing abilities as well.
Now, This I'm looking at is all made in Nigeria here. It looks fancy.
Yeah, the whole journey of mushroom. The whole journey of mushroom begins from the fruiting bag. Every Nigerian can be taught to produce the mushroom fruiting bag and grow mushrooms from their house. From their house, every Nigerian can grow mushroom. So all the fresh mushroom that was harvested, that is in front of you, came from this bag. Okay. And then this one is the tea. So you can have breakfast every morning with mushroom tea. So this is a mushroom tea bag. It's highly nutritious and very medicinal. We also added some aromatic compounds as well to enhance the flavor. So mushroom is a complete food, and God has made it available in Nigeria. Remember the 3 value propositions of mushroom. It puts highly nutritious super health food on your table. It also puts money in your pocket. And then it also promotes your good health. The reason why Nigerians were living long over 100 years ago, our forebears, was because they understood the value of mushroom. They go to the forest and other food products. So they make sure they incorporate all of this into their diet every day, 3 times a day. They had no need for a hospital. They live longer. We want to bring back that kind of culture and that kind of food eating habits into Nigeria.
One additional unique advantage of patronizing Nigerian mates, like the noodles, you can give your own spec and say, okay, you know what, I want a portion of the mushroom. Then maybe you choose the flour you want, maybe tamba or millet. You can just come up with your own spec, and they mix it up and give you what you want.
That's nice.
So you take it conveniently.
That's nice.
Unlike you just see glittering package and then you just run for it.
And lots of
and
chemicals.
Honestly, we shouldn't take anybody looking down on Nigerians because of packaging. We are reluctant on giving this a beautiful packaging because we get everything fresh. We know the season for everything, and we get it fresh. So no one should take us for granted. If you say there is a market for this, and this is the location, each market comes with its own spec. Give us, dare us, give us a level to meet up. We'll meet it up.
And exceed it.
And exceed it, as long as you buy. But packaging, if it's going, it determines where the market is going. If it's going to Middle East, they want classic thing. They don't care if what the content is rich or not. If it's not presentable, yes. If it's not presentable,
they won't buy.
No market for you. If it's going to America region, that's your target. They ask for jumbo sizes. Unlike the Asians, because of the nature of the family or the spec of their family, just a family with a child. So if your target market is there, you do tiny ones like this. They can take this in Asia. They want tiny, tiny ones. Just one drop and you get the result. So it comes with that. So if it's Nigerian spec just to show beauty, fine. Look at it. No guidelines, nothing. Look at this. Very presentable.
And this
so
is made
if
in
you
Nigeria,
tell him that,
packaged in Nigeria.
yes, if you tell him that
everything on this table is made in Nigeria.
Everything.
You know, my interest is you're trying to really convince me to continuously, on daily basis, eat the mushroom. And I like to munch. I know this is tiger nut cookies. Do we have mushroom cookies or mushroom
Yes,
biscuits?
there are mushroom cookies.
Okay, we have it. So I can actually take some of it to my office.
Yes,
I noticed some
mushroom
men,
pie.
you know, in the interview, they said they like to chew biscuits. I guess you have to convert now to mushroom biscuits.
We actually have mushroom cookies, just that it didn't come as part of what came to the set today.
So we
have mushroom cookies.
Even
we have ginger
in
cookies.
the kuli you are talking of, you can have a bit of it.
You can infuse mushroom
That's the
into
beauty
that.
of it. You can say in the mixture.
Yes, you can add mushroom into it.
There's nothing you cannot add mushroom. That is food.
But again, we also need to look at what are we trying to accomplish. Kwili is already pretty high in protein, you know. Adding mushroom doesn't even really give you super advantage. So you want to add mushroom to food that are not already rich to enrich them. You know, we're dealing with malnutrition all over the place. If we can really use some of this to enhance our nutritional value. And talking about malnutrition, we tend to focus on protein energy malnutrition, especially when it comes to children and when it comes to pregnant women. You know, we focus mainly on protein energy malnutrition. But there is another kind of malnutrition that is going on. You see everybody looking healthy and robust, but that doesn't mean they are. We are not taking enough antioxidants. We are not taking enough micronutrients. Those are the vitamins and minerals. And the one thing that give that to you are the fruits and the vegetables. We're not eating enough of those. And that is why our immune system is not very robust. Because when we eat more fruits and vegetables, our immune system will be more robust. You know, when you're young, you need a lot of carbohydrate, you need a lot of protein, and of course the fruits and vegetables. But as you grow older, your energy requirement reduces, your protein requirement reduces because you just need it for maintenance, to just maintain cell multiplication. But you need more of the vitamins, of the micronutrients, of the antioxidants to ensure repair is going on, to ensure that the metabolic processes are going on. Because see, people are dealing with cancers, they're dealing with inflammations, they're dealing with all kinds of obesity. Because even as women, as we grow older, our estrogen level begins to drop. Then you see us packing fat, especially in the midrib. Same thing with men too. The testosterone level begins to drop and they begin to pack the weight. All of that can be addressed with appropriate nutrition.
But
so
doctor,
that you're
you
balanced.
see, back to, if you will make a quick judgment that we're looking good is not healthy, I will rather disagree with that. You see, like
so
the women.
you may look good.
Yes.
You may look
not
good,
necessarily
but
be
you may
healthy.
not necessarily be
Fine.
healthy.
Let me add up to what you're saying. You see, back to our nature and what we used to, coming back to use Nigerian native stuffs like this ones. The women, the tummy thin, we have recipes, spices, which are commonly known, but we now think it's a village thing.
Honestly.
We run away
That is
from
exactly
them.
what I'm saying,
Yes.
Balaji, that we need to
it
get
do
back
exist.
to eating those things.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that people might look healthy and robust, but they may not be. Because we're not eating the spices. You know, when you're making food, you need to have the sweet, the savory, and the spices. Do you understand? To balance it, because your body needs a little bit of those things.
Yeah.
But now we're eating foods that are lacking, you know, in some of those things. And then if you do a survey of Nigerians today, if you do a 24-hour survey, because for you to really be at optimal health, you need at least 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. How many of us have actually eaten fruits each day as a routine? Eating fresh vegetables each day as a routine? The answer is no. When we were living the way our parents live, you go to your backyard, and that is part of the theme of grow what you eat. You know, if you want to go and buy pawpaw, you have to go to the market, buy the pawpaw, bring it home. All of that is a lot of stretch. You might not get it. You may have your money. But if that pawpaw is in your backyard, you see this, right? Bring down that pawpaw. You find that pawpaw is on the menu. If there is guava in your backyard, you pass. You don't even need to wash.
So
you grab,
we need to plant
most of these things, so you are more likely to eat it.
Vegetables she's talking of fruits. We already, and she's aware of it. She's part of my platform member. We dry all these fruits. We have them to preserve them. And you can make them part of your milk. As you can crush this into powder and mix it up, you can also crush the fruits in powder form and make them have it. Like you, if you're rushing to an office, you have like one thing she introduced to me.
Banana is there.
Yes, you have all the mixture together and just scoop a spoon and put it in there and it's ready to go.
It has 21 vegetables, spice and herbs. Everything is in
so
there.
So the basics can go into just one cup. And you mix it up, you take it.
And I actually remember I was down some time ago. She came to the office and gave me what she called, I think, jetrofa, beetroot and all of that,
kale,
the powder.
in the powder form.
So I was skeptical about it, but I decided to give it a try. All those red blood cell, depletion and all of that. It was just 2 days and I was back to my feet. So I can really attest to that. I had to blend it I wasn't sure how to blend it with apples and
We
to make it a
we
little bit
really need
sweet,
to look
you know.
inward.
No, I had to blend it into the smoothie and gulp it. For 2 days, I was up and about again. It shows that Nigerian food
really
is really, really great. And I don't know why our people will still insist on importing things that will kill your system instead. Someone I was talking to said to me that when you go to eat vegetables and fruits, instead of filling you up, it makes you more hungry. So it's better I do this bread and biscuits that will hold me. If I do it in the morning, it can hold me the whole day. I don't know. I tend to disagree with that. But then, I don't know, if my director is ready, I want to quickly take a breather now. When we come back, we continue. Break beckons. It's still conversation, and we're talking eating, or if you choose, consuming what we grew. And it's amazing. While we were on that break, more products came out, and I'm like, wow, you know, if you can get the studio real good. You see, the table is filled and it's still flowing. And I'm told this is just 1% of what we have in Nigeria as products.
Yes, that's
you
true.
know? So is that the granite oil you talked about?
Sesame.
Okay, this sesame
Yes.
oil.
Yes.
What's the difference? Is this Nigeria?
Yes, it is.
Are you sure?
Everything here is Nigeria.
Everything you see.
Wait, I need to read
So
where is
the
it?
hampers are loading.
We have over 500 different items.
Wow, 500.
Yes, you can visit. I think some of your crew have visited to verify all those things, and we have them in different form. And besides, the unfortunate thing, the healthy value of all this is written here.
Okay.
So the irony here is that because Nigerians are reluctant in getting themselves engaged into this, you find out foreign business guys come in here, their agents come in here and pick these things, take them to their country, modified, and still bring some to sell into Nigeria. And one funny scenario that just happened recently in Durban, this activity that is going on there, there is some clients who used to come and buy ginger powder here, raw ginger, and
Raw
take
ginger,
take it there to Morocco specifically. And he is part of now of the part of the trade fair now. They were also invited there. And he's going there to present that same ginger as Moroccan stuff.
Products.
Yes,
It's actually domiciled here.
Yes, we identify some of them.
And other
you know?
things.
So likewise, it's just a group of business guys and feel that this place is empty. They came and invest, and now investing in this, they're not citizens, but they're entitled. When they invest in this, they export it out, and they bring back the proceed to expand their business here. Government gives them incentives.
But
Foreigners.
for locals.
Yeah.
But no
always says
incentive for locals.
No, it's for everybody.
No, it's for everybody.
Export incentive.
No,
As long as you bring it back.
They are bringing that in. You know, a lot of incentive. It's just only recently that the Export Promotion Council really did that export promotion incentives. But what we need to look at is, as you know, as government is giving incentive to foreigners to invest in Nigeria, government also need to incentivize Nigerians to produce.
I'm part of. I was invited in this policy review on all this stuff with Smeden, and we have one with another ABU's area. I was part of the policy review thing. The issue here is, and I make a specific recommendation, that incentives should not be extended to foreign investors. It will encourage our own people to come on board.
To do better.
You know, what wasn't purpose now you come in here and only God knows how they start up, the documentations, how the remittance are. And then again, it's not even, the profit margin is quite huge. And it's not just, okay, you now take it to wherever you sell, maybe in 10 times the value you've added to it, and then because you want to expand your business, they remitted back the money into our country, and you now get a bonus for that. You know, it should be limited to Nigerians.
So that we can benefit more from it. All right, now you are an, president of,
the
Cassava Exporters Association. Without really deviating from what we're discussing today, maybe briefly you can take us, do you have that incentive for your exporters?
Yes, we have. There are 3 kinds of incentives available for every Nigerian right now. The first incentive is that any machine you need to import to enable you process what you will export, it's duty-free. At least I'm a beneficiary of the duty-free incentive, but you must go through a very difficult process of applying for it, because you apply for it through the Federal Ministry of
Agriculture?
Federal Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
On paper, it's easy, But when you start the process, you go from table to table, desk to desk, and you know the Nigerian factor. So it makes it very cumbersome.
Nigerian factor, my brother. You know, the issue here is, yeah, come on, man. The issue there is the personality.
The government needs to ease
the process is
the ease of doing business. The government needs to work more on
but when
making
you
it
go
easy.
with the mindset that I need to tip someone, it's a Nigerian thing. It's totally negative. You have gone with a negative mind. Someone can just tell you your file is here, you have to tip.
I was mentioning 3 incentives available right now for every Nigerian.
Okay.
The first is we know that you need to import machineries. You can import them duty-free when you apply for that duty-free exemption. They call it duty-free exemption certificate.
Okay.
The second incentives available for every Nigerian is that when you export manufactured products, you get export expansion grant. Also, you have to apply. You get export expansion grant up to 10 to 15%, depending on the level of value addition. That's an additional profit to your already established profit for your product. The final incentive is the NEPC actually provides some financial support or also rebate for market expansion. When you develop markets for your export product, the fiscal incentives available right now allows you to make tax deductions for all of those expenditure. And also they even provide you some refund in certain cases. So these incentives are currently ongoing and available, like I said, to every Nigerian. But the Nigerians have to be informed, and the government need to also simplify the process and make it easy for people to access.
That's absolutely right. Simplify it. And again, the major hurdle is this. In Nigeria, if someone tells you he's into processing and he bought equipment, all will be he put in 100% to make that happen. While in my survey, what happened in other parts of the world is that none of them, you made you shy away from the write-ups. You bring them in, you do the write-up, this is what I wanted to start producing, and I have the data of this commodity in my country, and by the time you now give me access to this machine, I will be producing this tonnage, and these are my projected market, full cycle. If you will drop that, they will come in and put those things in place with an agreement of how these things you'll be paying as the business grows. But in our case, you go there, take loan, go and drop, you cut them off. They are no longer part of the business. And if it goes wrong, you sink. That's why you see dead factories or processing places redundant. Or an SME, for instance, she got a spec from NAFDAC. You have to meet up this. The basic thing is the sales. I'm now taxed to pay for this certification, get this standard, you all does that.
All right.
The market where in your country you are now left to be struggling or competing with other products in the supermarket. We have not even give value to these products so that we will have our own unique space, that these are purely made in Nigerian supermarket, tax-free, in our own, wherever they are.
That would be a wonderful one. Made in Nigerian supermarket. I'm sure the goods will be amazing.
Even in Nigerian sections in existing supermarkets.
We should
made in Nigerian sections.
We should have it unique.
Supermarkets.
Okay.
So that those that want to support made in Nigerian goods can just go to that section and see the wide variety of things that Nigerians are making.
And of course, when you're doing that, you also be helping people to expand their pocket. Like you said, I needed to ask, somebody asked me here, the mushroom, number one, he said, please, how can I buy it? That's number one. Yeah. That's something we will send you feedback. But are they in shops in display?
Yes,
okay.
they're available for order online, and we do nationwide delivery.
Okay,
In fact,
nationwide
we do
delivery.
global delivery.
Okay, so I'll probably have to send
if you send in my WhatsApp
link,
number.
okay, the
link.
WhatsApp number to the person.
Yes.
All right, so
the
the other
link.
one is there any form of preservative? That's another question here. Any form of preservative in the mushroom?
We like mushroom organic. We like it free from any harmful preservative chemicals. So when we dry them, we reduce the moisture content to 10%.
Okay.
And in that 10%, they can last without any other addition of preservative for at least over a year. In fact, we could do up to 2 years, and it will be able to maintain its quality. So we don't do any preservative. They come to you as organic and fresh.
Okay. All right, so the same thing goes for the SD farm.
The same thing for SD farm, whether you're talking about the beetroot, you're talking about the banana, you're talking about bitter leaf. You know, bitter leaf is another product that really need to, you know, we have a major epidemic of diabetes right now because people are consuming so much sugar and our lifestyle have become so sedentary. But right now, I went to America. If you go to Amazon, you'll see bitter leaf in Amazon.
Really? People are selling bitter
capsule,
leaf?
yes. And they will tell you made in America. And I was like, when did America start growing bitter leaf? So we need to really invest in what we have. So we have bitter leaf capsules for those that are not able to take the powder. Neem, dogoyaro, we have them in powdered form.
Dogoyaro is that thing you used to give us when we were kids
neem.
for what's the name now?
For malaria,
yes.
and all kinds of other conditions. You can use it for even for growing your hair and making your hair supple. A lot of these things have multiple, they have multiple benefits. But that's the beauty of plants.
And you can use it
multiple benefits.
In oil,
form,
oil,
and all that.
And also rubbing or hair cream, all the sense.
That's
Okay.
Yes,
you can apply them.
It's bitter. How can I use the oil? It's bitter.
No, you can use the oil for other purposes. You can use it in your skin, you can use it in your hair, you can use it to treat conditions. Same thing with scent leaf. You know, so we have all of these herbs that have powerful nutritional and medicinal value. And there's no additive to them at all. Another very powerful herb we have is the one we call King of Bitters. This is really one of the liver tonics that can help detoxify your system. Again, if you can't take it in powder form, you can have it in capsule form. And you know, when people are taking Origin and all of these other herbs that are chemicalized, you can have it in its natural form. So back to mushroom.
Like the aloe vera too.
Yeah, aloe vera.
Which
back
we have one of the best in the country.
There's a species of mushroom we are growing. Unfortunately, I didn't bring the live plant, but we put them in powdered form. It's called Ganoderma. Ganoderma is one of the most powerful medicinal mushrooms we have. And it's very powerful for cancer prevention and it has loaded in antioxidants and all that. So it's something that is worthy of mention because our people are looking for treatment for cancer because we don't have the health system. I'm a nurse, I'm a midwife, I'm in health sector. You wonder why am I so into food? It's because without the right food, we can never accomplish health. And when our healthcare system is so depleted that, like right now, I have a medical device and I can't find anywhere in Nigeria to support it. I have to go to America twice every year. How many people can afford that? But we have systems here, things that people can consume to reduce medical tourism. It's really very important that we enhance our own traditional medicine, that we enhance food and also enhance our environment.
Definitely.
One more thing about mushroom that we haven't mentioned here is the powerful environmental remediation that it brings.
Yeah.
Okay? Mushroom, this log here, you bring that for me, please. Can you hand that to me? This, you know, mushroom grows on logs in the forest. But now we don't have the forest, so cut them down and build estates. So for us to do, and then we're cutting down logs. In our timber shades, we have a lot of sawdust piling up, and they're burning it and contributing to climate change. But mushroom farmers help in remediating the environment, preventing all that smoke from going up in the air by taking these logs, taking this sawdust, and producing mushroom This is actually sawdust. Or any agricultural waste, because it's really a cyclical system. You can use sawdust, you can use groundnut peels, you can use sugar cane, you can use corn peels, you can use palm, all the agricultural waste. You can bring it together, compress it, pile it inside this bag. That's how we create the log. Pasteurize it, and you have your log. So that is powerful waste to wealth and preserving the environment.
Then in addition, one other very powerful contribution to agriculture, any soil that is dead, if you use the spent bags, you can bring that soil back to life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Back to life.
Beautiful. Now, just 1 minute left for me, and I think, Alaji, you will have to just say one or two things. Are Nigerians really accepting all these products? How are we taking it? Because from now, me, I'm born again. I'm going to be consuming all of this. So how are other people consuming it? Are they accepting it?
Yes, actually they are. And especially, you see, is the information. We don't really let this thing known to the people. Like recently, the last visit the WTO came, she was shocked to know we have this in Nigeria, baobab.
What's this?
Baobab.
Baobab. What does it mean?
It's
a super
you know
fruit.
kuka in Hausa? Those huge tree. So the leaf is the miyan kuka. The fruit, powder, there's this. And the seed inside, after taking the powder, we also have oil extracted from it.
All right.
It's a super fruit.
All right.
And it has is very rich in vitamin C.
I see it here.
Immunity boosting, you know.
Everything. Thank you so much. My director is on my neck. And all these people who are asking how you can get these things, I will be sending you the contacts of my guests here so you can reach them directly and negotiate if you want to sell or if you want to buy. And very importantly for me, you must consume it. The program is Conversation, and it's been Elizabeth with Dr. Stella, BG Farm, and our CEO here, Mohammed Sani. Thank you for coming on the show. All right, let's keep eating Nigeria if you want to live long. Yes. Eat what we grow.
This week on Executive Discuss.
For me, loyalty is 100%. There's no 99.9% loyalty. And loyalty is not only when things are going on smoothly. Loyalty to me means walking in when others are walking out.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We are reaching you live from the nation's capital city, Abuja. I'm Dennis at Digunloy. The headlines. Sugar production to receive boost as federal government sets up $73 million intervention fund for irrigation. Reactions as President Buhari withholds assent to Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021.
What is important is to ensure that whatever process you choose in your particular circumstance still provides a process that is as free.
House of Representatives passes 2022 budget. Plus, President Buhari gets booster shot of COVID-19 vaccine. Now the details. A $73 million intervention fund for irrigation has been set up by the federal government towards boosting sugar production across the country as part of the Backward Integration Program. Already, an all-encompassing presidential intervention project on irrigation infrastructure has been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari towards achieving this objective. State House correspondent Adam Sambu has details.
Records show that out of the nearly 165 countries producing sugar in the world, none in sub-Saharan Africa is enlisted amongst the first 10 sugar producers. Similarly, in Africa, the continent's largest economy, Nigeria, could not make the first 10 sugar-producing countries despite its enormous potentials, a situation the Buhari presidency described as unacceptable. This presidential intervention project, inaugurated on behalf of the president, is to, amongst others, support the development of irrigation infrastructure on 10,000 hectares of sugar plantations in Numan, Adamawa State, Sunti, Niger State, Lafiaji, and Bashita in Kwara State, as well as Toto and Tunga in Nasarawa State.
The aim is to increase significantly and improve the country's performance in cane yields so that we can work within the National Sugar Development Plan, Sugar Master Plan, with a view to Nigeria becoming self-sufficient in the provision of sugar and possibly also become a net exporter of sugar, thus saving the country a large bill that it presently incurs in foreign exchange for importation of sugar.
And our own aim is to create this conducive environment that will attract more investment, that in shortest period, we will reach our self-sufficiency in sugar production. We believe that Nigeria is in strategic position, going from what we've started doing from today, that we can satisfy these 11 million metric ton shortage that we have in Africa.
The Central Bank of Nigeria is involved in the provision of the required funding for the project as part of the National Sugar Master Plan, and Governor Abdullahi Sule, Chairman, Sugar Producing States in Nigeria, is a critical stakeholder.
Sugarcane is best produced when you can irrigate. That is the reason why this irrigation process is very, very important. And like the Honorable Minister mentioned, for us in Nasarawa, we are extremely excited about this because it is an opportunity, to create employment, to create the value chain. This is good for Nigeria and is indeed good for Nasarawa State. And it's an opportunity for Nigeria to save FX. Today, we are spending not less than $700 million in the importation of sugar.
Some major operators of the Backward Integration Program describe the move to enhance sugar production in Nigeria as appropriate and timely.
We're really, really excited. This is an important opportunity for all the players in the industry and also for Nigeria. I don't think there's ever been any intervention in the agricultural infrastructure for up to 10,000 hectares at one single time.
So this is very, very important for Nigeria for development of sugar industry. And as has been said, that this is a green industry. It doesn't create any kind of pollution. as the whole world is now going for the green fuel, so sugar industry is green in all its respect.
During the event, several agreements were signed by the stakeholders to fast-track the development of the various sugar plantations in the country towards producing sugar, ethanol, and power. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai of Kaduna State has formally briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on the recent attacks by bandits in parts of the state, which resulted in the deaths of nearly 40 villagers. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports that the president also granted audience to Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State.
Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, who was accompanied to the State House by the State Commissioner for Internal Security, Samuel Aruan, gave detailed briefing to the president on the attacks on 5 villages in Giwa local government area recently. He said 40 villagers were killed by the bandits, who also burnt down houses and agricultural produce in the unfortunate incident described as one of the worst in the state.
There has been some improvement in Kaduna State, but this incident was quite a shock to us. And in my view, it is because the operations are being carried out piecemeal in states. So when they are attacked in one state, they move to another. The president was saddened by these attacks and promised to continue to support the Kaduna State government in every way to bring an end to these challenges. He'll be holding meeting with the security chiefs in the next few days to further articulate a holistic strategy to address the insecurity in the Northwest in particular.
The governor also briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on the state's infrastructural development drive and formally invited him to personally inaugurate those already completed.
And we are really looking forward to him coming and to make him proud. People have asked us, where did you get the money to do these projects? We've been prudent. We've been saving our money. We've not been wasting our money on recurrent expenditure. We also negotiate very good prices with contractors, and we don't expect contractors to give us any kickbacks or whatever. So we do get good prices from them.
President Muhammadu Buhari also granted audience to the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi. The governor appreciated the president for his efforts at stemming the tide of insecurity in the country and dealing with the nation's economic challenges.
I came to see the president in my capacity as the chairman of the Nigerian governors and to express, as I said, gratitude for his approval of the bridge finance, and is also to let him know some of the steps we are taking in our various states to also fundamentally address these lack of revenue, because we have a challenge in this country and tokenistic support will not do. The truth of the matter is the country is not as buoyant as most people think it is. And one of our suggestions to Mr. President is clearly that we need to create the enabling environment that will give those who can provide such support for the country the confidence to want to invest in the future of Nigeria.
The meetings are in furtherance of President Buhari's strategic engagement with a broad spectrum of Nigerians towards addressing critical national issues. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Nigeria Governors Forum has formally reacted to the decision by President Muhammadu Buhari to withhold assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, saying the Nigerian leader needs to be commended for standing with the people. The chairman of the forum and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who spoke to newsmen after an audience with the president, insists that for the state governors, it does not matter whether primary elections are held through a direct or indirect mode.
What is governors' interest and concern is that opportunities are given for an inclusive process. And I think that is what Mr. President's letter has brought out. Mr. President has not objected to direct primaries. Neither has he endorsed indirect primaries. He has only said, be fair to all. Let all options apply. And what you decide should be determined by your own local and peculiar circumstances, being mindful of questions of security, finances, and democracy, internal democracy. So I think all should commend the courage of Mr. President to stand with the people. And the President, just like me, is not afraid of whatever mode you decide to use. When I chaired the primaries, the historic primaries that brought him in as the presidential candidate, I was the chair of that primary in 2014. It was an indirect primaries. But in 2019, when he was coming back, he came back via a direct primary. So Mr. President has also tasted both. And I don't think it's somebody to be lectured about the pros and cons of either processes. What is important is to ensure that whatever process you choose in your particular circumstance still provides a process that is as free a manner as possible. There is no completely free process, but at least there is something that is called substantial compliance in electoral law. And if it meets substantial compliance, I think all of us should be happy with that.
Dr. Kayode Fayemi speaking. Now, the federal government is committed to sustaining production of relevant statistical information needed for effective tracking and monitoring of the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said this during the launch of the baseline report and realignment of the National Statistical System with Sustainable Development Goals 2020. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
It is the official launch of the baseline report and realignment of the National Statistical System with Sustainable Development Goals 2020 here at the banquet hall of the State House. To Nigeria and the rest of the African countries, the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals is crucial to the task of ending hunger, poverty and disease, as well as safeguarding the environment and creating jobs. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says these goals are also central to the vision of the Buhari administration, which is committed to lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty within a 10-year period through social investment plans.
There's no question that the Nigeria SDGs Implementation Plan 2020 to 2030 offers a coherent pathway for achieving the expected outcomes in the next decade. One of the areas of marked improvement in this document that we're presenting is the increased range of reporting from the 126 indicators recorded in the 2016 baseline report to the 141 indicators in the current 2020 report.
The report, as explained by the Bureau of Statistics, provides an update of the data contained in the baseline report 2016 for monitoring and evaluating the progress being achieved in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria and the ongoing realignment process of the Nigerian statistical system with the Sustainable Development Goals.
With this launch, we'll be able to track our progress on the SDGs more accurately on an annual basis. Our approach ensures that the SDGs are central to our national development efforts and are indeed policy priorities for the foreseeable future. Clearly, all of these policy and planning documents bear the imprint of the SDGs as overarching national priorities.
This event will mark yet another landmark in the strive towards sustained development in Nigeria.
Confirming Nigerian commitment on behalf of Mr. President to the successful implementation and even acceleration of SDGs in Nigeria.
The office is also giving out these 19 ambulances to support and strengthen healthcare system at the sub-national level. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo inaugurated the ambulances to cap the event. From the banquet hall of the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The News at 10 is reaching you live from our studios here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Stay with us. More reports after this break.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms.
Star Times, Channel 101, Great TV, Channel 703, DSTV, Channel 419, and OTV, Channel 416.
For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Twitter at NTA News 24, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24,
news and more news.
Thanks for remaining with us. Now to the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives has passed the 2022 appropriation bill of 17.126 trillion naira. This represents an increase of 735.8 billion naira on the amount initially submitted by the President. Also passed was the Finance Bill 2022 to support the budget's implementation. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that after passing the budget, the House adjourned plenary to 18th of January next year.
Authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 17,126,873,917,692 naira only.
At this accelerated legislative process to ensure sustenance of the January to December budget cycle, the House of Representatives at this sitting considered, approved and passed the 2022 budget estimate after the presentation of the report by the House Committee on Appropriation.
The highlights of the budget based on 2022-2024 MTEF parameters as approved by the National Assembly are as follows. Oil benchmark $62 per barrel, daily output production 1.88 million per barrel, exchange rate 410.15 per US dollars.
Out of the 17.126 trillion naira approved, 6.9 trillion naira is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, 5.4 trillion naira is for contribution to development fund, 3.8 trillion is for debt service, while 869.6 billion naira is for statutory transfer. Sectoral breakdown of the budget shows defense taking the largest amounts with an allocation of more than 996 billion naira. Police got more than 518 billion naira, while education was allotted 598 billion naira, followed by health, which got more than 462 billion. The proposal from the President as budget for 2022 submitted to the National Assembly was 16.39 trillion naira. Meanwhile, President Muhammad Buhari has written the National Assembly seeking approval for environment to fund critical expenditure and extension of implementation of the capital components of the 2020-2021 budget from December 31st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022.
This is a tradition, and it is in the best interest of our people and the interest of the policies and programs of the government of Muhammad Buhari.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it.
From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Away from the National Assembly, the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing has received more than 621 billion naira as extra sum for the rehabilitation of 21 federal highways. This is coming from the NNPC Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that a tripartite MOU was signed at the ministry headquarters.
This is a unique pen-to-paper ceremony, a seal to a memorandum of understanding between the NNPC, FIRS and the Ministry of Works and Housing. It is expected to bankroll the fixing of 21 critical highways across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. More than 621 million naira is involved in the deal. It will go directly to the coffers of the contractors handling the rehabilitation of some of Nigeria's critical highways begging for attention.
NNPC is not taking over our roads. NNPC is not constructing roads. NNPC is just putting forward its tax liabilities to the person who is supposed to collect it, FRS, and we are dedicating it to these roads that have been awarded, some of them over 10 years, that should have been completed, but for insufficient budgetary provisions.
We find this tax credit scheme a very important way by which we can step in to support the Federal Ministry of Works in funding this roadmap, a number of these roads. We have selected about 21 roads.
This is actually unprecedented and very necessary for us to be able to fix the roads in Nigeria.
The closure of this deal means that in the next couple of months, the selected highways for rehabilitation will be completed, and once again, putting smiles on the faces of motorists plying those highways. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Minister of State for Environment Sharon Ikeazo says the federal government will engage all stakeholders, including the Bayelsa State government, in investigation of the Santa Barbara oil spill in Nimbe. The intention of the federal government, she says, is to achieve a comprehensive and unbiased outcome in the inquiry. On Nengie, Fineface reports.
In keeping with the promise of transparent and thorough inquiry of the circumstances that led to the Nimbe spill, Minister of State Environment Sharon Ikeazo ordered the immediate joint investigation visit to the wellheads in a few days. In a meeting with the governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Dore Diri, at Government House in Egua, the minister insisted on a credible and open investigation.
You can't have that JIV without representatives from the host community, and in that case, the host state government. Nothing should be cloaked, nothing should be covered.
It is a commitment that addresses the concerns of the state governor to see that the right steps are taken to solve the problem at hand and prevent any recurrence of oil spills in the state.
Our umpires will work globe in hand with the Bayelsa state government, and we will see a transparent process. And as you have rightly directed, that all media houses interested will be there to see it.
The major target of the joint investigation is to determine whether the spill at Santa Barbara was as a result of equipment failure or due to third-party sabotage. Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
In the meantime, the federal government says Nigeria is strictly adhering to the judgments by the International Court of Justice, ensuring total compliance with the ongoing demarcation of the Bakassi Peninsula and adjoining boundaries between the country and Cameroon. Director General, National Boundary Commission, Adamu Adaji, disclosed this during an end-of-year interactive session with media practitioners in Abuja. Olusheye Adeagbo reports.
It is almost 20 years the United Nations principal judicial organ, International Court of Justice, pronounced the final judgment that determined the boundary tussle between Cameroon and Nigeria.
This is a boundary that was decided.
Director General of the National Boundary Commission explains that the Cameroon-Nigeria Mixed Commission handling the exercise has resolved 16 out of 20 disagreement areas, with expectations of finalizing outstanding ones next year.
What we're doing now is trying to implement that judgment, assessment of the entire stretch of the boundary, and most especially the demarcation of the boundary physically on ground, to make it very visible.
On the issue of interstate boundaries, he explains that Nigeria houses 86, but only about 30 have been resolved. He linked the challenge of not recording desired success over the years to lack of cooperation from the sub-nationals.
The chairman of the National Boundary Commission, His Excellency Professor Eli Usimbajo, has graciously shown commitment and interest. he intends to call a broader meeting very soon, where some of these issues of the non-cooperation by some states will be addressed.
The National Boundary Commission emphasizes that Nigerians are also coming to terms on resolving the long-running issues of border management in the country. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has taken the booster shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. This is to further demonstrate leadership in the renewed drive towards controlling and containing the global health challenge. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The booster dose of the COVID-19 vaccine was administered on President Muhammadu Buhari by his chief personal physician, Dr. Suhaib Sanusi Rafindadi. Though devoid of any formal ceremony, this could best be described as a symbolic confirmation of the safety and efficacy of the vaccine. It was also a demonstration of faith in the vaccination exercise. President Muhammadu Buhari's e-vaccination card was thereafter presented to him by the Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuhaib.
And what we're seeing from the data is that COVID-19 is now mostly a disease of the unvaccinated. Out of every 10 people that have died, the data shows that 8 of them are unvaccinated. So there's a greater likelihood of dying from COVID-19 if you're unvaccinated. What Mr. President has done today is again to indicate to all Nigerians that the federal government does everything to make sure that only safe and efficacious vaccines are brought into Nigeria, and that when they are brought into Nigeria, we'll double check to make sure that it fits the very high standards that have been set by NAFDAC. So when you go to any health facility, when you go to any mass vaccination site, one thing that should be clear in your mind is that this vaccine that is going into your body is safe and is going to protect you against severe forms of COVID-19. It will also protect you from dying from COVID-19. That is the assurance that we're giving Nigerians.
Meanwhile, one after the other, personal aides to the Nigerian leader took turns to be vaccinated, also for the third time, in line with the COVID-19 safety advisory by the World Health Organization.
So please stop hesitating, stop having any doubts. It is a question of integrity for us that we do the right thing. And we are showing through leadership from Mr. President, the governors, the legislators that have come out openly to take these vaccines, that these vaccines are exactly what we need to be able to protect our health and then begin to build back our economy. To get the booster shot, all you need to do is go to the nearest health facility or any vaccination center with your vaccination card, and you will get the booster shots. We're making the vaccines available all across the country, so you don't have to go too far from where you live or from where you work. When you get your booster shot, you actually get better protection against the Omicron variant.
Records show that over 8 million Nigerians have now been vaccinated against COVID-19. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The federal government, through the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, has deployed 74 medical workers to Guinea-Bissau to help boost the nation's healthcare system. Benny Adams reports that the deployment is in fulfillment of President Muhammadu Buhari's promise to his Guinea-Bissau counterpart earlier this year.
Now, throughout the 20th century, part of the modernists revolted against the use of traditional materials in fine arts and the desire to prove that